About 3 million years ago, when early humans arrived, a protagonist was among them. At first, he believed he was just like everyone else. However, he neither aged nor weakened. He didn't die. While others aged and passed away, he remained. Hunting and fighting were essential for survival, and these activities brought him joy. As time went on, his body continued to change, growing bigger and stronger. Tougher. After nearly 3 million years of that, he was unmatched, and people began calling him the god of Earth, Mu. Went further, defeated every other god, and ultimately became the strongest in the realm. In the divine realm, with no rivals remaining, the initial thrill faded, giving way to a sense of boredom. One day, he stomped his foot, and the god's entire divine essence. The realm trembled. The gods, angels, even the fallen ones, beings were terrified. This wasn't the first time they had experienced such fear. By the time he had finished, some gods had reached their limit, the daily quakes, with Lucifer, the second-ranked god, among them. Mu didn't care. He was still fixated on the same thought. He had beaten every worthy opponent without breaking a sweat, and has remained unchallenged for over 1,000 years. She sighed and said that being too strong can be a problem as well. Then it clicked. If strength was the issue, he would resolve it by getting weaker. In an earthling body, he would have hundreds to fight against. He jumped. Above, a massive dragon emerged, its commanding presence captivating all as it soared through the sky. Too thrilled to be summoned, it was abruptly slammed down in front of him, towering many times higher than Mu's throne. The dragon appeared annoyed. This was the domain of the top god. Yang Yang was taken aback when it asked why it had been summoned, and to its surprise, a god responded. Mu simply starts walking away, telling him to take care of things while he's gone. Yang Yang unleashes a spell, binding his enemies in place. The absolute chains move, forcing him to stop. Mu only turns and gives him a glance, a cold, sidelong glance from Yang Yang. He immediately shrinks back, stammering that he meant no disrespect, but insists that Mu should at least explain, especially with the gods meeting approaching. However, Mu remains indifferent about the meeting and continues walking, dragging Yang along by the chains as if they are nothing. Realizing this approach isn't effective, Yang Yang decides to switch tactics. He plays the victim, claiming that if Mu skips the meeting, he will be the one left to listen to all the other gods complain about him. Mu snaps the binding, turns, and yells that he won't go there unless Yang Yang is with him. He quickly decides to back off and reconsider. The complaints are preferable to being shredded, and they wish Mu a quick and safe trip. As Mu approaches a small floating earth nearby, he gently touches it. He needs a body to enter, so he listens to the messages people send to the gods. Most are trivial, but one person boldly questions his very existence. At first, he is surprised, but then he realizes that he is the perfect fit. For the first time in 1,000 years, Mu actually appears excited. He finally has something to do, but Yang Yang, not so much. His mood reflects that. Absolutely tanked. Mu pauses as if he might explain, but then simply says goodbye, leaves the place in Yang Yang's hands, and instructs him to handle anyone who arrives. Yang Yang realizes that Mu is only sending his soul to Earth while leaving his body behind. Worried about the body behind him, he reminds Mu that if something happens to the body, the soul on Earth dies as well. True to his Sigma personality, Mu has already made his decision. He believes nobody in the no one from the divine realm would dare touch him, so his body will be safe. Yang Yang keeps trying to talk him out of it, but Mu brushes him off and goes anyway. Without warning, we cut away from Mu to someone entirely different who had just defeated. The rush of power was exhilarating, but it was just the conclusion of an anime. This Lee Ho is a 17-year-old who struggles with feelings of inadequacy. Lee Ho feels jealous of an anime hero who ultimately achieved great success with a group of girls. Yeah, bro, seriously watched Harem in Another World serves as his farewell, and as the credits roll, he lets out a sigh as his phone slips from his grasp, falling to the ground and shattering. We understand why he is standing on the edge of a 3-story building, already bruised and battered, stood ready to face whatever came next. He mutters a bitter goodbye before jumping. Falling through the air and crying, he yells, "If there's a God, prove it. Send me to another world." He crashes to the ground with a thud. He should have died, but his body endured. He refuses, his fingers twitching. He begins to gasp for air. Before the impact, the soul of God Mu leaped into Lee's body. Now, Mu awakens. Inside a wrecked body, there was no idea what had just happened. Meanwhile, Lee's soul lands in the divine realm, stunned by the towering dragon glaring at him. He and the dragon both appear equally shocked to see each other. A moment ago in the divine realm, Mu taps the small earth floating in space. is filled with a rush of adrenaline. Mew feels the weight of the world shift as he grapples with the unfamiliar sensations of his new form. He quickly assesses his surroundings, realizing he must adapt swiftly to this unexpected situation. As he plummets toward the ground, he braces himself for impact, determined to make the most of this opportunity. Lee's body. He slams into the ground, and the pain is worse than anything he has ever felt in his immortal life. However, the bigger shock comes from the confusion that arose the moment he arrived. Why did this happen? His hands shake, then go still as he takes a deep breath. He hits him, and he's dying. There's no time left. This isn't over yet. Muscles that function independently, such as the heart, are known as involuntary muscles. Years of training have given him an in-depth understanding of the human body, allowing him to control everything from blood vessels to organs. As a result, just a few seconds after flatlining, he manages to force his heart to start beating again. It hurts like hell, but he pushes through the pain. His vessels are repaired, his heart is mended, and the bleeding stops. He slowly rises to his feet, and rather than getting angry yet strangely happy, feeling this much pain reveals a deeper truth. He made the right call by coming here. He delves into Lee's memories to uncover what kind of life he led. He has just taken over. He heads to Lee's place, his new base. Walking on those weak, wrecked legs is challenging. He uses his hands to help and shifts them to relieve pressure. He finally arrives at the house and steps into the small room. He sits on a creaky bed, reflecting on what he has learned. Lee has one male relative who lives a great distance away. He's alone, broke, and miserable, and the only thing what he does is go to a place called school. What amuses Mew the most is a memory of someone from school who seemed to have they made it their life's mission to bully him, constantly picking fights and turning his life into a living hell. He views it as the perfect starting point, allowing him to dive straight into a fight. He got so hyped that he threw a punch into the air, followed by a sharp pain shot to his right arm. He realized it was the result of overusing his hands while crawling back home earlier. Lee clearly, they had never focused on arm day, as even small efforts left them feeling sore. Instead of getting angry, Moo smirks. After thousands of years without pain made it feel good to experience anything again. The next day, police investigate the location where Lee Ho's body had landed on the ground. Mew returned, not for the cops, but because the 3-story building nearby was Lee's school. He walks in, scans the halls, and discovers that the classroom door slides open. It was way too hard, ruining his grand entrance. This drew a glare from a classmate who called out, telling him to keep it down. Mew brushed off the sting and continued walking right up to the child, standing uncomfortably close. In combat, Mew always waits for his opponent to make the first move, confirming their intent to fight. The kid freezes for a moment, unsettled by Mew's eerie grin. Mew retaliates by smashing his fist directly into his opponent's face. He demands the bully confirm his identity, to which the bully replies, "What's wrong with you?" He questions whether he left his glasses at home or if he's simply too blind and foolish today. Before Moo can respond, the bully swings and lands a solid hit, causing blood to run from Moo's wounds as his nose and mouth drip onto the floor. As Moo pulls his hand back, a sharp pain rips through his body, serving as a stark reminder of the muscle soreness he had felt earlier. Their teacher storms over, yelling at the students to stop, and the entire class turns to watch, feeling humiliated. Meanwhile, the bully ignores everyone and charges forward. Mew raises a guard and successfully blocks his attacks. He believes he could have ended this already if his new body had been able to keep up. He even attempts to harness his divine powers, but nothing happens. And in that split second of a distraction leads to him getting punched in the face once more. The bully isn't backing down. Moo is in serious trouble. With no strength, no kicks, and no powers, he relies on the one thing he can trust. He drops his head, lines up, and braces for the next punch to his skull. The impact creates cracks, and the bully's fingers tighten as the kid screams. Mew acts swiftly, moving before the bully has a chance to recover. He grabs the bully's hand and drives his head forward, ramming it into his stomach, aiming for the weak spot. The impact sends the bully doubling over, overwhelmed by pain and struggling to catch his breath. But Moo isn't finished yet. He wants to continue. Make sure this guy never forgets. He swings his head and slams it into the bully's jaw. That did it. The bully lies defeated. Meanwhile, all of his classmates have their own unique talents and interests, each shining in their own way. Phones are raised, capturing the entire scene. Watching the weakest kid in school drop a second time was both surprising and disheartening. The year of bullying was not something they had anticipated. For Mu, this was his first real fight in years. He had invested everything he had into it, and the rush felt amazing. Blood filled his mouth, and the painful throbbing had become a familiar sensation that he accepted. After so long, the sting of a real fight felt exhilarating. Now that the excitement has faded, he looks down at the unconscious bully as if he isn't finished, sits beside him and, because the guy pushed him so hard, he thanks him. He leans in and lowers his head. He bites off the boy's ear and spits it on the ground while the entire class stares in horror. Mu remains indifferent to their reactions as he wipes the blood from his face and continues to gaze at the body. That bite wasn't random. It was Mu's way of leaving a mark on an opponent he genuinely respected. People would later refer to those opponents as Mu's playthings. Only the strongest, who provided him with excitement, truly captured his attention. Fights made that list. Back then, being one of Mu's playthings felt almost like a badge of honor. A sign of toughness. Mu's mark wasn't a symbol of shame. It was a recognition of strength. Word spread quickly that a second-year bully had been taken down by the school's weakest kid. The moment that shocked everyone. It wasn't just the loss. They claimed he was essentially neutered. His condition was serious enough that someone called emergency services, and they arrived quickly to assess the situation. They rushed him to the hospital. Mu watches, impressed by the speed of the treatment. As the ambulance pulls away, he reflects on the efficiency and urgency of the medical team. Waves goodbye to his first opponent, expressing his hope that they would meet again. One of the teachers storms up behind Mo and tells him to come to the office. As soon as they arrive, the teacher erupts, questioning if he has lost his mind, and he acted so recklessly towards his classmate that he even raised a binder as if to hit him. But Mu doesn't flinch. In fact, he looks excited, as if he's already contemplating his next fight. And that look makes the teacher freeze, not wanting to end up like the student in the hospital. The teacher backs off and avoids the punishment. He turns away and instructs Mu to bring his parents to school tomorrow. Mu he had braced for the hit. However, the teacher dismissed him, saying he had to leave school early, every student's dream. Mu simply nods and walks out. As he makes his way to Lee's house, he reflects on the situation. In his mind, unlike other gods who possess complete knowledge of their worlds, he is unaware of what lies ahead. Leaving early might simply mean returning to base. Regardless, he decides to use the time to heal and train this fragile new body. His hand shakes as he reflects on the earlier damage, wishing he could use his godly powers to repair it quickly. Mana, the life force that people in other worlds refer to as chi or chakra, allows humans do crazy things. They become hunters or wizards, among other things. But not here. Here, he can't rely on it because there is no mana on Earth. Frustrated, he acknowledges that he has built his body through hard work and dedication. He reaches his place and collapses onto the bed. Healing will take time. Aware that there isn't much else he can do, deciding to return to the god's realm for further investigation, his soul snaps back into its original body. Right in front of him, Li Hu is choking Yang Yang, refusing to let go. Li finally releases Yang Yang and walks over, instructing Mu to hand over the dragon, all the while fantasizing about how things could unfold. He would be overpowered in another world alongside a dragon, but Mu isn't having it. He summons a giant hand that grabs Li, making it clear that he won't be ordered around. Ignoring Li's protests, he drags him away, having made his decision to offer the child a second chance in a different world. They arrive at Lucifer's domain, the second-ranked realm. God resides in the divine realm, while Lucifer pursues his own ambitions. The planet Elmer is quite different from Mu. As Mu strolls straight into his castle without permission, it naturally annoys Lucifer. He shuts down any attempts at explanation. Unfazed, Mu tells Lucifer to open the gate, sending the boy to Elmer. Lucifer retorts that, as expected, Elmer isn't from Mu's planet, and he doesn't get to make that choice. Mu leans in closer and reminds him who's stronger, asserting he knows what he wants and can prove it anytime, anywhere. Lucifer has no choice. He knows he can win this. Mu steps past him and touches Elmer's shoulder. Lucifer blurts out that this is forbidden. If one god touches another's domain, it could lead to dire consequences. An unbreakable barrier will trigger, and sure enough, the barrier appears, shattering it in seconds. Lucifer simply stares as Mu speaks about how the universe's rules can be changed if someone is truly determined. Mu opens a portal and releases Lei, urging him to step up. Lei jumps through the hole he just created into Elmer, feeling no pressure. Li hesitates, clearly taken aback by the situation. Mu reminds him that this is exactly what he requested. The chance is right here. Still wavering, Li asks once more for the dragon. over control of his new life, Mu was determined to stand his ground. He overrides his own assistant and sends Lee hurtling straight into Elmer's planet, triggering the isekai. He grumbles about kids wanting everything handed to them. Then, with things settled, he tells Lucifer to look after the kid before heading out. Lucifer, humiliated and seething with rage, can only fantasize about tearing Mu apart. His past is far from simple. He was the first demon lord, the one who set the stage for all that followed, reigning over all life on Elmer's planet. After claiming the crown as the strongest, he even challenged the god of his world. At the beginning of that confrontation, in the heat of battle, Lucifer summoned a blinding light that transformed into a massive sword. He charged at the god, who couldn't withstand the attack and was cut in two on the spot. Lucifer took that god's place, but he still wasn't satisfied. He ventured into the divine realm, challenged the other gods, and defeated them one by one until he claimed the highest throne. A demon ascended to become the god of gods, earning the respect and admiration of everyone. However, that admiration didn't last. Mu showed up, defeated him in front of everyone, and shattered that image in an instant. On that day, Lucifer vowed to seek revenge, declaring that Mu was nothing more than a lowly human. As Mu rides his dragon back toward his domain, he remains unaware that a demon has been sent to confront him. Lucifer is tracking him from the sky, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He is preying on Mu's downfall. Back on Earth, the bully from Lee's school awakens. In the hospital, he remains consumed by rage, still wanting Lee dead. He grabs his phone and searches through his contacts. He calls in someone tougher to get the job done. Across the city, Kang Cheol-heng is navigating her way through the bustling streets, determined to face the challenges ahead. The youth middleweight boxing champion is pounding a heavy bag when a sudden burst of energy surged through him, fueling his determination and focus. A loud ringtone interrupts the moment. He stops and looks over as a blonde guy walks in and claims it's his phone and answers. The blonde guy, Kwok Cheo-ha-yang, a boxer with 2 years of experience, faces off against the bully. He gets straight to the point, addressing Kwok Cheo-ha-yang directly. He'll buy him a new phone if he does it. Yang agrees to the deal without hesitation. The next day in class, the bully strolls in confidently, as if he owns the place. Nothing happened. The room fell silent and everyone stared. Then the whispering begins, as people discuss how the man who once bullied others, it looks pathetic now. He tries to ignore it. But when the jokes escalate to people saying he got neutered, he snaps. He throws his backpack on the floor, and yells that he can still take them all, daring anyone who doubts him to step forward. Come fight him. The class president, a girl with glasses, stands up and retorts, telling him to shut up or get out only angers him further. He loses control, grabs a chair. He threw it at her to instill fear in everyone once more. Before he can proceed, the door swings open and Ronnie Coleman steps in, asking what all the commotion is about. The bully drops into his seat as if nothing happened, the fastest sit-down of his life. The noise settles around him. The teacher looks around, spots the class president still standing and clearly upset, and asks what's going on and why she is out of her seat. The class president doesn't respond immediately. She sits and brushes it off, saying it's nothing. Ronnie Coleman lets it slide, but asks her to see him after class, leaving her wondering why. After school, she meets him as he requested. He tells her he needs a favor, being the class president and someone he can trust her to check on Lee Ho, who has been absent and isn't answering his phone. In return, he will write to her a recommendation letter for senior years presented as a request, but she understands that declining is not an option. Reluctantly, she agrees to write it. At Lee's place, she appears eager to wrap things up. She goes straight to the door, knocks, and calls out. When there's no answer, she hesitates. Then she tries the knob, and it turns. The door is unlocked, so she steps inside. Lee lies in a filthy room surrounded by bugs. He appears lifeless, and the shock hits her all at once. She screams, believing Lee is dead. In a panic, she grabs her phone and calls an ambulance, feeling there is nothing else she can do. As Lee lies still, his body suddenly twitches. Mu has returned. He opens his eyes, completely disoriented, trying to understand where he is and how he got there. He feels a sensation on his hand and looks down to see the IV line supplying him with some kind of nutrient. He studies the tube, noticing something flowing into his veins. Realizing it's nutrients, he feels his body absorbing them and speeding up his recovery. It may not be magic, but the results are impressive. The girl sitting nearby notices that he's awake and sees his unsettling smile. He made her feel as though he wasn't entirely present, yet she still asked what had happened. Before he could respond, she grabbed her bag and said she was heading back to school to report everything to Ronnie Coleman as he had requested. Mu sat up and tried to stop her. He didn't want her to go through with it. He didn't know who she was, but he sensed she was the one. He was eager for information and grateful to the person who helped him recover so quickly. With his usual creepy smile, he yanked out the IV and asked if she knew of a place where he could train and get stronger. Since he had no money, she suggested a simple outdoor gym at a nearby park. Mu went straight there and got to work without hesitation. As the warm-up begins, the atmosphere is filled with a sense of awe. Participants look around, clearly impressed by the basic setup. Setups feel like genuine training gear to him. It's been nearly 4,000 years since he last set foot on Earth, and he hadn't taken the time to check on human progress. As the Earth god, even these basic workout machines leave him impressed. Back in his time, people trained with rough, inefficient methods. By comparison, this new approach felt revolutionary to Mu, even though he didn't fully understand how it worked when he first encountered it. A small rock struck his back and fell to the ground. On the floor lay the bruised bully from earlier, who had returned with his cousin, Ha Young, a professional boxer. Mu sat down, completely indifferent to him. She picked up a rock and asked whose it was. The bully shouted that he had thrown it, boasting that his cousin would beat Mu to death for what had happened. Before he could finish his sentence, Mu delivered a swift punch. The guy hit the ground screaming, his already broken nose now even more smashed. Once again, Mu couldn't have been happier about it. Meanwhile, in the realm of the gods, it was time for their regular gathering. But this meeting was without him. His only assistant, Yang, feeling anxious, began the presentation. To deliver Mu's message, Lucifer interrupted him, glaring and demanding to know why. An assistant boldly stepped into a meeting of the gods and spoke first. Panicking, Yang explained that he was only there to read a letter and meant no disrespect. He continued with a shaky voice. As usual, Mu wanted to be notified if anyone found a missing item. A worthy opponent for him, that was it, Lucifer declared as he slammed the table. As the second most powerful god, he had finished with Mu. Doing whatever he pleased, skipping meetings and ignoring everyone. Lucifer wasn't taking his responsibilities seriously. Most of the gods agreed but chose to remain silent. Lucifer spoke up. The meeting was held to maintain stability and safety in their world. Then the archer god, the third strongest, agrees that if anything unusual arises, they will have to handle it accordingly. They always do, just like before. Lucifer slams the table once more and yells that Mu treats everything like a game. This game is pushing their worlds toward collapse. On the rare occasions when Mu intervenes, Lucifer states that it only makes things worse. To illustrate his point, he turns to the Cyclops god, the ninth-ranked deity, and asks if he remembers what Mu did 1,000 years ago when the Cyclops planet was in danger. A massive void creature, as large as the planet itself and capable of swallowing it whole, had begun tearing it apart. Then something blasted straight through it, splitting it into pieces. 2 pieces, of course. Mu grinned, his face flushed. Happy to engage, he swiftly killed the creature in an instant. Lucifer uses that to argue that the aftermath was on Mu, and that if he had collaborated with the other gods instead of confronting them, in solitude, there wouldn't have been any casualties. Lucifer states that they cannot keep allowing someone unfit for godhood to gamble with their worlds. On the other side, Yang remains silent, unable to defend his lord, and simply prays for his safe return before it's too late. This situation is getting worse. Back on Earth, the beaten man begins to make noise again, warning Mu that his boxer cousin will take action. The cousin is intrigued. He witnessed how quickly moved and punched earlier. He asks if Mu practices martial arts. Mu shrugs it off and states that he doesn't play sports. He simply wants to fight. That leads Yang to dismiss him as a cocky, foolish middleman. Yang squares up and declares that he's ready. He decides to starting off quickly. We move in to see if this guy is the real deal. He talks and then delivers a sharp opening punch, cracking Mu in the face. The hit lands cleanly, but there's something about Mu that feels off. Yang is off. As a boxer, he discovers it was strange that Mu didn't move at all even. Though he clearly saw the punch coming, at the beginning Mu never dodges the first hit, taking it as his way of initiating the match. With that unsettling grin, Mu yells, Is hand-to-hand combat your specialty? Yang appears to excel in that area. Uneasy, Mu mirrors Yang's stance and Yang dismisses it as unimportant. It's just a mindless imitation. He blocks the punch and is shoved back across the floor. He can't. It's hard to believe how much power this skinny twig possesses. Meanwhile, Mu appears even more excited. Before impact, Mu flexed his muscles. He swung his arm as hard as he could. His arm feels heavy and strained. Tears stream down his face, but he remains unfazed. For him, pain only fuels the fight. He barely feels it. Elements from the creatures he battles in his divine form surge through him. He yanks off his belt and wraps it around his fist for protection as his hand heals slowly. The kid on the sidelines calls it unfair, but neither Mu nor Yang Yang pays him any mind. Yang Yang charges back in, determined to make an impact. He takes control of the situation, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. He unleashes a rapid barrage of punches, left and right, relentlessly attempting to overwhelm his opponent. Meanwhile, Mu observes closely, noting Yang Yang's quick and accurate movements. But it's predictable. Mu starts dodging the shots effortlessly. Yang Yang attempts to change his approach, but Mu not only blocks his moves, but also lands a punch on Yang Yang's arm mid-swing. It takes a few seconds for Yang to regain his balance and focus. As he processes the situation, he begins to scream. Mu watches, amused, as he realizes Yang Yang and a kid from the neighborhood are engaged in a playful exchange. Lee's class shares the same overly dramatic tendencies. Without wasting any time, Mu seals the moment with a swift punch that knocks Yang Yang out cold, leaving his cousin standing there, completely stunned. Mu's face lights up, clearly eager for round 2, and he declares that it's time to settle the score. This isn't the first time they've targeted him. The bully who had been acting tough earlier realizes it's all over now that Yang Yang is down. Mu walks toward the bully, determined to confront him. Up close, he realizes the guy is too scared to fight back. There's no pride in beating someone like that. The guy notices the brief pause and hopes that if he continues to act scared and insists he doesn't want to fight, it might end quietly. However, it's already too late. Before he can say a word, Mu strikes him with a swift punch to the face. He charges in with relentless determination, piling on hits even as the face and body swell and bleed. Mu finishes with a brutal knee to the face and finally feels satisfied. He praises him for refusing to admit defeat, even while knowing he never gave him a chance to respond. With both of them down, he walks off, leaving his mark on the scene. The boxer stands over the bully, who lies there muttering. They called him a crazy bastard. Mu heads back to his house, feeling a mix of emotions as he reflects on the day's events. He has the opportunity to fight almost every day, but his weak muscles continue to act up. To keep this feeling alive, he decides to return to the God Realm to choose what he had asked Yang Yang to prepare. But this time, nothing occurs. Mu simply sits there. A few days earlier, while waiting, in Lucifer's domain, Mu continued to ignore him throughout the day as he already knew, coming and going as if he owned the place, unaware that he was pushing boundaries. Lucifer pushed to his limit. On the way back to his domain, Yang Yang asked how Earth was faring. Mu expressed his love for it, but noted that his new body felt weak. He then informed his to find a recovery magic orb that would allow his body on Earth to heal more quickly. There was just one small problem. Magic items are common. Elmer and several other worlds fell under Lucifer's influence because there's plenty of mana there. On Earth, you only receive a limited amount. They are granted through divine blessings or whims, making them incredibly rare. Only a few people in history have utilized them, and they were revered by humans who treated them like gods. Not long after, Yang Yang promised that he would have the recovery orb ready by the time Mu returned to the God Realm. Upon their arrival, the assistant reminded Mu about the upcoming meeting of the gods. Mu casually reached into his pocket and mentioned that he had prepared something because of everything. The complaints were noted. It was just a small letter, and of course, we already know what was written inside. After handing that off, Mu he placed his hand on the miniature Earth model. Jumping back to Lee, neither of them noticed the small demon watching from the shadows. Above, reporting every move to Mu's greatest enemy. Back in the present, Lucifer is starting to connect the dots. He may not know what Mu's plan is, but he's certain that Mu's intentions are far from benign. The body is empty, and skipping the meeting indicates that Mu won't be in the God Realm for a while. This is his moment, a once-in-a-millennium chance to get revenge. He's not missing it. Without warning, Lucifer casts life taxidermy. With no villainous monologue to hinder him, he swiftly eliminates the one obstacle standing between him and Mu. Purple, spear-like lightning crackles above Yang Yang, but he reacts quickly, jumping back and dodges every strike in the blink of an eye. His expression shifts to one of seriousness, ready to fight. Yang Yang steps forward and demands answers. Is this really happening? Lucifer, are you truly declaring war on Mu, the god of Earth? Lucifer, confident now that Mu isn't around to interfere. She floats up, and he will personally remove Mu from the seat of divinity. He knows what that means, without any ambiguity, is that it is an official declaration of war. Yang Yang doesn't hesitate. He compresses his energy. Fire breath shot forth in a concentrated beam. He shoots it directly at Lucifer, who glides past effortlessly. The blast sweeps through the god's realm and detonates, resulting in a massive explosion on the far side. The archer god conjures a protective aura as he addresses the other gods present at the meeting. Lucifer remains completely still, observing his surroundings. The first strike has no impact. Yang Yang triggers his ultimate polymorph release, unleashing a powerful surge of energy that enhances his abilities to unprecedented levels. With this newfound strength, he prepares to face his opponents head-on, ready to demonstrate the full extent of his powers. His entire body grows and transforms as he goes all in to protect his master. The archer god sighs, deciding it is time to take action, declaring that this place is no longer suitable for a proper divine meeting. As she drifts away, Lucifer calls out after her, asking whose side she is on. The archer god responds, stating that she is neutral, neither for nor against. Neither for nor against. Lucifer states that he's fine with the archer. God remains neutral as long as she does not interfere. Then he turns to the rest of the gods and asks if anyone objects to Mu's expulsion. None of them do. Yang Yang is still alive and warns Lucifer that he is no match for God Mu. Lucifer smirks and says he knows Mu isn't here. He's trapped in a weak human body on Earth. That stuns Yang Yang. He thought he was the only one who knew. And then suddenly, Lucifer chose to rebel due to his desire for independence and power. He believed he could govern himself and sought to challenge the authority of God. This ambition ultimately led to his fall from grace, as he could not accept being subordinate to anyone, even the Creator. His rebellion was driven by pride and the conviction that he deserved to be worshipped, setting the stage for the eternal conflict between good and evil. With nothing left to lose, Yang Yang makes one final attempt. In a surprise attack, he whips his tail around Lucifer, but Lucifer sidesteps and slices the tail into pieces. He doesn't finish him off, as keeping Mu's assistant alive allows him to use him to locate Mu on Earth in that human form. He intends to make him pay for all the humiliations. Lucifer laughs. While Yang Yang coughs up blood and shakes, he is rendered unable to act. On Earth, Hai Yang, covered in bruises, is being yelled at by his coach for the street fight, which compels him to undergo an extended recovery period. Taking a deep breath, he reflects on the pressure of the moment. As he steps onto the field, the weight of expectations hangs heavy in the air. Just as Kang walks in, Lee is blamed for the mess. Kang notices the tension in the room. His battered appearance prompts her to ask what happened. Hai Yang can't admit that he was outmaneuvered by others. Just then, a random, weak-looking guy appears. Since Kang is one of the top boxers in the country, he decides to showcase his acting skills and begins to lie, claiming he stepped in to help. His brother, who was being bullied, was ganged up on and beaten by the bullies. Kang walked past without a glance. Reacting to the situation, he told Hai Yang that it was his responsibility to exercise greater caution, especially in the future. After finishing his matches, he was about to leave when Kang called out to him. He warned that by the time he arrived, he should be prepared for anything. Kang genuinely believes him and asks who did this to him. Mo is still wondering why he can't return to his real body. The only reason could be that his body is badly damaged, but that doesn't feel right. He has Yang Yang guarding him, yet his body shouldn't be easy to breach. Then it hits him. What if all the gods joined forces and launched an attack? He jumps to his feet. If that's true, he needs to move now. But he has no idea what to do, which only fuels his anger, leaving him furious at the thought of those gods taking cheap shots while refusing to face him directly was infuriating. He could just find a way to cool down. Everything would be better. In his mind, he vows that if he could escape the heat, he would finally feel at peace. He gets the chance. He'll turn them into stew. He then forces himself to calm down. He reminds himself that Yang Yang isn't someone who goes down easily, even when facing a group. If he can't change his original body right now, he'll focus on this one. He heads back to training and works diligently. For the first time, his abs are impressive and well-defined. They feel like they're on fire, which somehow enhances his enjoyment. People around him stare, convinced he's lost it in the middle of his. During his workout, someone suddenly called out his name. He loses his grip and crashes to the floor. It's the class president, and she's frustrated because he hasn't been to school for days. They walk over to a quiet bench, and Mu shrugs before saying, "Why would I go to school? I can't train there." She then asks him why he trains. He insists that getting stronger is simple. When she asks why he wants to be stronger, he grins in response. He can fight more effectively and take on larger opponents. From that point, he goes off, ranting for hours about fighting and training, and she simply sits there and listens, convinced that he must be insane. Then she changes her approach, realizing that training so hard loses its meaning without anyone to challenge. She arrives at school, meets new people, and quickly finds herself in conflict, making plenty of opponents along the way. As she walks away, Mew has to admit she has a point. After what he did to those bullies, they won't dare go near him, for it's the first time he truly considers attending school. At that moment, a masked figure appears behind him and calls out his name. Mew doesn't respond. He knows exactly what this is. A look of relief washes over him as he turns away, his head already bracing for the first hit. Earth is the best, he says. When Kang was 15, he was honing his skills and becoming quite proficient in boxing. His sister, a ballerina, had Kang's unwavering support in every way possible. Everything was fine until a creep began stalking Kang's sister. His obsession intensified, and one night he followed her into a dark alley. As he slipped into the shadows to make his move, Kang was nearby and launched a surprise attack. He was struck before he could react, as Kang had intercepted him just in time. Despite being involved in an actual crime, there wasn't enough evidence to keep him detained, so he was released. The stalker returned, angrier than before. Kang made his appearance. Again, she stopped him, but this time, he arrived too late to stop it all. His sister's leg was severely injured, ending her ballet career. Kang blamed herself for the injuries that had sidelined her, feeling a profound sense of loss as she reflected on the dreams that had slipped away. Disillusioned with the law for failing her, he decided he could no longer trust it. Every night, whenever he could, he began working as a vigilante. He kept an eye out for suspicious gangs or anyone who seemed likely to cause trouble. To commit crimes, he stepped in, unaware of what lay ahead. To him, it was justice. To others, it was pointless violence. Back in the present, Mu took Kang's hand. He delivered a preemptive punch without any resistance, but it was clear that it was light. Either Mu didn't care. He had his signal to begin the fight. Kang wants to interrogate Mu, but Mu shows no interest in explaining. He dismisses Kang's questions and tells him to stop. Talking and dragging things out only frustrates Kang further. Mew maintains his guard like a seasoned professional as Kang throws punch after punch, but Mu skillfully dodges each one. Kang attempts a boxer's trick, flicking a quick right jab to catch Mu off guard and block his vision while planning to launch a counterattack. Kang realizes that Mu isn't just some loudmouth. They actually know how to defend themselves. After Mu reads and blocks a heavy follow-up from him, this truth becomes clear. He begins to pick at Mew's weak spots, then discovers and opens up and buries a shot in the net. On Mu's side, Kang takes a step back to talk, stating that he's targeting the injuries intentionally because there's no mercy, and Mu laughs through the judgment. Pain makes Kang even stronger. Mu knows that things are getting more furious. Kang is on another level, and being in Lee's body presents a challenge he can't overcome. However, he won't give up. He can't afford to miss this opportunity to fight. He remembers one of those rare moments when he nearly faced defeat. Even then, he didn't give in to his emotions. He regretted it. He wanted the win. He forced himself to remain calm, shutting down his feelings to observe every movement. Back then, Mu seized a few significant opportunities. Clear shots of the giant monster revealed its imposing presence, yet the creature hardly took any action. Aware that he was outmatched, he kept his cool and remained focused, searching for openings that could keep him alive. Though he felt lost and barely escaped with his life, he maintained his kindness. They relished the thrill of slipping through danger. His first step was to clear his mind. Faced with that deadpan expression on top of his already unattractive appearance, Kang felt a surge of annoyance. Mu was clearly mocking him and relishing every moment of it, pushing Kang to his breaking point. Kang charged in to finish the fight, while Mew backed off, dodging punches as they flew toward him. He soon found himself with his back against a tree, the impact jolting through him and momentarily stunning him as he struggled to regain his footing. Digging his foot into the ground, he kicked up dirt, but his opponent, wearing protective glasses, remained unfazed. Kang was increasingly convinced that Mu was somehow involved, a criminal who deserved a beating. Despite his goofy appearance, Mu skillfully dodged every punch thrown at him. Kang tried to sneak up behind him for a surprise attack, grazes Mu's chin, but Mu remains unfazed. The plan is working, and Kang is losing focus. As before, Mu picked up on the big changes happening around him. The differences between the fights in the previous world were striking. Each battle showcased unique strategies and styles, influenced by the environment and the combatants' backgrounds. While some relied on brute strength and aggression, others emphasized agility and cunning. The stakes were often higher, with personal rivalries and deep-seated grudges fueling the intensity. Additionally, the presence of various factions added layers of complexity as alliances shifted and rivalries intensified, making each confrontation not just a test of skill, but also a reflection of the intricate relationships between the fighters. and his recent fights. Kang displayed a much more aggressive style, not as defensive as people were in the past. Mew believed that the ground held the key. Back then, I had to be careful because of the uneven ground, but with the evolution of footwear, people became more aggressive. This is why he threw the dirt, not directly at Tag Kang's face, but to scatter grit and debris around him. Small rocks were strewn everywhere, disrupting Kang's footing. He wanted Kang to act recklessly and step on the dirt and small rocks he had scattered earlier. Mew got what he wanted as Kang stepped on a small object. Rock loses focus and opens up, allowing Mu to burst in and take aim at a vital spot. However, mid-air, he realizes his arm won't respond after all the hits he took. Instead, he pivots and drives his elbow, landing a heavy shot. Unable to contain himself, he begins to mock his opponent. He laughed at how Kang had missed, but while he was busy trash-talking, Kang swung at the ground, causing him to cry out in pain. Kang decided to incapacitate Mu, so he would never laugh again. Just before the impact, Mew realized he had lost and closed his eyes. With braces in place, he wonders if, after almost 4,000 attempts, he is on the brink of experiencing failure once more. Suddenly, something flies in and strikes him. Kang glances around, assessing his surroundings for the attacker, and then hears a voice calling out to Master as it draws nearer. He can't risk being seen, so he pulls up the hood of his sweatshirt and sprints away before anyone arrives. As he vanishes, a small lizard-like creature emerges. She steps out and calls to him. Mew glances over. He hears the call and recognizes it. This little monster is aware that Lucifer took Mew's divine body and sealed it within an unbreakable barrier, preventing Mew's soul from returning. However, there was one small problem. He needed to find another way to accomplish the mission. The only option left was to devise a plan that would allow them to succeed without drawing attention, specifically by persuading Yang Yang to reveal the way to reach Mew's planet. He promised that if he helped him reach Earth and take out of Mu, he would make the dragon the new god of Earth. Yang Yang whispers so quietly that Lucifer can't hear him. Annoyed, Lucifer tells him. Yang Yang finally speaks up and points at the barrier. Around Mu's body, it is questioned whether it can also stop attacks. Believing he can rescue Mu, Lucifer boasts that nothing can penetrate his defenses. He calls it invincible and urges him to give up and join his side. Suddenly, the surroundings begin to brighten. Lucifer turns to see Yang Yang, his body glowing with energy, shouting that he's going to self-destruct. Before Lucifer can react, the castle trembles, its walls shaking as if responding to an unseen force. Then, with a tremendous explosion, the blast incinerates the entire area. On the edge of the god's realm, Yang exerted all his strength in a desperate effort. He was struck and immediately shrank back to his weakest form, fleeing in a panic. His only safe haven was with his family on Earth, but Lucifer was not about to let him escape. Bursting out of the dust, Lucifer charged after him in a furious pursuit. Before Yang Yang could escape, Lucifer summoned him, conjuring a magical spear and hurling it with all his strength. The spear barely missed its target as Yang Yang leaped onto the miniature Earth, emerging in the sky above. It seemed that fate had let him down. Directly onto Kang's face. That's all he remembered. After he explained it, Mu left. Mu was deep in thought, not feeling sad at all. As expected, he was furious with Lucifer, swearing that if he ever once he regained his original body, he wouldn't allow Lucifer to live another second. Mew's anger transformed into excitement as he realized he finally had a chance to fight Lucifer again. He jumped out of bed, buzzing with energy, but he knew he couldn't defeat Lucifer in this body. His only option was to work harder and strengthen Li's body. The problem was that Li's body was so damaged that even throwing a light punch at the air felt like everything was shattering. Then it hit him. He had told Yang Yang to find the magical orb last time. Turning to Yang Yang, he asked if he had received it. To his surprise, Yang Yang replied that he had indeed brought it back. At Mu's request, he slowly coughed it up and explained that it was a dragon bloodstone imbued with a one-time healing spell. He apologized for only bringing one. Mu picked it up and thanked Yang Yang. Yang said this was more than enough for now. He activated it immediately, and his wounds began to close up instantly. But that wasn't even the best part. Mew realizes that the orb isn't just healing him, it makes his muscles feel sharper, more defined, responsive, almost sensitive in a way they hadn't been before. I noticed a body enhancement spell mixed in. Observing Mew's reaction, Yang Yang admits he put in extra effort and infused his own magic into the dragon. Bloodstone crafted with great care and pride. Mu expresses his gratitude, then gazes at the remaining piece of the orb. and figures that not all the power was used as it struck a weak human body. He can use it, handing the piece to the little lizard. Yang Yang says he'll save it from Mu in case of an emergency and carefully tucks it back into the stomach pocket. Cut to a yellow lizard, the favorite pet of the family. The girl from earlier treats it like a close friend and even wishes it could talk so they would never be bored. He puts it back in its place and heads out to school. The battered bully from earlier sits quietly, wearing glasses, unfocused on his studies. He seems more concerned with confronting Mu and making things right, rather than causing trouble. He is determined to resolve their issues. As Mu makes his usual entrance, he inquires about preparations for the exams and asks if he wants another round. Before the man can respond, the president's girlfriend appears behind him, feigning surprise that Mu actually came to school after all. Being gone for so long, Mu says he only came because she convinced him to, then adds, of course, he's really here to find someone to fight and defeat. His appearance and his words convey that intention clearly. She wonders what he's planning this time, but she simply tells him good luck, choosing peace today. On the floor below, Kang and a girl from his class discuss the recent events. She updates him on a second-year student who was recently humiliated, outlining the details of the incident. She explains that the student beat his bully so severely that the bully passed out and had to be taken to the hospital. If that wasn't shocking enough, he even tore off the man's ear. After that, people started calling him neutralization. Kang listens with interest as they make their way to the exit, and she continues to share the story. Dishing out details, the victim's appearance was striking, with a torn ear, and Mu's behavior that day seemed unusually off. Kang finally connects the dots. The nerd she's referring to is Lee. However, it's already done, so Kang decides to let it go for the time being. On his way home, he unknowingly follows the same route as Mu. Mu is annoyed that the day was so boring for everyone. They were glued to their notebooks or phones with no fights or conflicts in sight. He then spots Kang walking with the girl. Since Kang wore glasses and a mask yesterday, Mu doesn't. I recognized him right away, but the shape of his muscles set off alarms. In an instant, he's certain. And of course, he yells, "It's that guy from yesterday." The shout causes Kang to turn. He sees Mu charging at him with wild intensity. Taking a quick glance, he bolts, sprinting away to the left and leaving his waifu behind. He can't believe Mu recognized him, even while he was wearing glasses and the mask. Regardless, he can't get. Kang was caught and faced the risk of this maniac reporting him. Suddenly, it cuts into a side alley, and Mu follows. But when he turns the corner, Kang has vanished. Yang Yang pops out of Mu's shirt and asks if that was really necessary. Eager to assist in tracking down the rude individual, he offers to use the strong scent he detected. After Kang hit him the day before, Mu encouraged him to take action. Yang Yang gets to work, but at that moment, someone steps in, narrowly avoiding being stepped on. Looking up, to everyone's surprise, he sees the class president from Lee's. She stares wide-eyed, then breaks into a blush and a smile, captivated at first glance. Yang Yang doesn't know who she is, and she struggles to find her identity amidst the chaos surrounding her. He tells her to move so he can pass, but she continues working, ignoring him. Suddenly, she scoops him up. He squirms and struggles, trying to break free. He snaps at her, warning her not to continue. She wishes he had even more to offer, sensing a touch of magic yet to be unleashed. While he views her as a nuisance, she is simply fascinated by the lizard, finding him the cutest thing ever. Finally spotting an opportunity, he bolts out of her hands and hides behind his master, offering an apology. He blames his failure on the girl, claiming it was due to losing his power. The girl approaches with a serious expression and asks if the tiny creature is his friend. Mu says, "Friend. Yes, you could call it that." She introduces herself as Kim Yujin, a very obedient one. It's clear that she's jealous of Mu for having a talking, well-behaved rat. Mu can see it all over her face, even if he doesn't say a word. It's clear why she's so stunned and envious. He offers her Yang Yang, saying that if she wants, he'll lend the little one to her in exchange for some information. She lights up at the offer, realizing that sharing a bit of information is no trouble at all. Mu doesn't hesitate. He grabs Yang Yang by the neck and hands him over, saying, "Take him. You can keep him for as long as you need, but I need your help to find someone." Mu casually tosses the little guy toward her, and he lands right on top of her. Head spins as Yang can't believe his lord just sold him out like that. Mu heads off, telling Yang Yang to stay with Kim for a while. He returns on his own later. Yang Yang tries to ask where his master is. He is going without him, and Mu tells him he is heading to the San Sujang. At Kim's house, Yang Yang feels a bit awkward. He sighs, introduces himself, and offers a small handshake. Aiming to make a good impression, he hopes for a positive response. To maintain professionalism, he states, "By my master's orders, you will be." Kim is taken aback by the tiny lizard, but the way he speaks makes her heart skip a beat. "By your master, do you mean Lee?" "Ho," she says, a grin spreading across her face as she adds, I'm the president of my class, I say." Yang Yang asks, "What's a president?" Kim explains that she is essentially the class leader and currently holds the top rank in her grade. He realizes that this is why his master chose her. She must be strong. Wait, so Lord Lee Ho isn't the leader of your class? Kim pauses, thinks it over, and says, "Lee Ho, he's not. Even on average, he honestly ranks near the bottom in everything." Yang Yang freezes, stunned. Then the tiny lizard, sweating and flustered, blurts out in disbelief, unable to believe it. Still, he insists that his master is the strongest in the world, more powerful than any god. He puffs himself up, instructing her to do everything possible to impress his master. Even more compelling, Kim interprets the little lizard's wild imagination and sweet talk as a sign that his master is willing to help, but only if he visits her frequently. He had already intended to use Kim to gather information about the happenings on Earth. Without hesitation, he agrees, and they strike a deal. As a loyal servant, he is prepared to do whatever it takes to assist his master in reclaiming the title of the strongest. Meanwhile, Mu is training with his newly enhanced abilities. As the sun sets, he leaps down. He looks himself over and feels good. He is fully recovered, faster than he hoped, and his strength has substantially increased. He throws a wild punch, this time at an iron rod, and the result satisfies him. For the first time, he feels a sense of accomplishment. His hand doesn't even hurt. He grins. Then the smile fades as he steps out. He hopes to run into Kang and decides to take action by heading back, believing he has a better chance of seeing Kang at school soon. Mu's sweat reeks, but fortunately, no one is around to notice. As he wanders into Kim's neighborhood, he is greeted by the inviting and familiar smell of the area. The scent is strong enough to pierce Yang Yang's keen senses. The little lizard is perched on the girl's computer. Suddenly, Dragon catches a whiff of cake and recognizes the smell. He jumps down, waves, and shouts, "That's it for today," before bolting away, bounding over rooftops and walls like an excited dog, following the trail straight to Mu. He lands beside Mu, who looks surprised as Yang Yang greets him and proudly announces that he has completed what he set out to do. Thought was his mission. Yang Yang excitedly shares that he even found a royal assistant who swore loyal to Mu. He's so excited that he misses what's happening just a few steps away. Then the lizard catches a whiff of someone he points it out after being chased earlier. And he's right. It's Kang in the shadows moving like Batman. The bike thief doesn't apologize. Instead, he threatens Kang, saying someone will come after him if Kang doesn't let him go. He tells Kang he picked the right target and continues with his plan, doubling down on his intimidation until the sense of danger finally compels Kang to turn around. As they face off, the atmosphere is tense, except for Yang Yang, who remains calm, facing the other way and insisting they're going in the opposite direction. But he's actually directing us to the wrong place. He continues to gesture toward a restaurant, telling Mu to head that way, but Mu ignores him and focuses on Kang. They lock eyes. Mu appears determined, while Kang seems uncertain. Mu begins to close the distance, moving slowly and deliberately. Kang attempts to react, explaining that there's a misunderstanding and advising Mu not to proceed. Mu prepares to swing, but he doesn't listen to the attack from Kang. He realizes he must defend himself and prepares to confront the situation. He had defeated Mu before, and he hesitates now because he understands Mu is not the kind of guy who deserves a beating like he once received. There was a thought, but then nothing happened. Mu had been pretending to launch an opening attack to bait Kang into striking first. The thief, who had been watching, seized the opportunity and snatched Kang's weapon. He rushed at Kang, who braced himself for the impact. However, Kang slipped aside at the last moment, turning his head as he stepped outside of the path, then sees the weapon was headed straight for Mu. Mu takes the strike, and he could have dodged or blocked, but he didn't, and that told him everything. He needed it. Mu retaliates immediately with a powerful strike. A kick to the thief's stomach sent the weapon flying through the air, and Mu caught it just before it hit the ground. But Mu wasn't finished. He pressed on, delivering powerful blows and occasionally using Kang's weapon until the thief finally collapsed. That contented grin fades quickly. Mu realizes these one-sided beatdowns are not. It's fun, but there's no challenge. He reflects on the time when he first hit Earth while battling Lee's bully. Ha-Young's matches were genuine. He decides to take a different approach, focusing on the only opponent that matters right now, Kang. Not this unattractive character. He looks around but sees no one nearby. Kang is gone. Just a moment ago, he was here. Kang rushed off, wondering how that wild guy Mu keeps appearing. Meanwhile, he didn't notice Yang Yang across the room. Suddenly, a street vendor accidentally kicked the little one as a guy ran by, sending a message. It was flying. A little later, Kang arrives home and steps inside. He kicks off his shoes, but struggles to find his footing, his mind replaying Mu's creepy face, always ready to fight. Just then, his sister enters the room. Right then, teasing as she yells, "The prosecutor has arrived." Kang Hun has switched. After that stalker case, she pursued a career as a prosecutor to take down cruel criminals, sharing the same goal as Kang. Taking a different path, she brushes past him and exclaims, "How dare you block a great prosecutor's way?" Annoyed, Kang warns her not to force him to use his powers. Huna heads to. She changes her mind and calls out for him to make ramen for both of them. Kang reflects on the day she was injured. The impact of his fist connecting, a rush of adrenaline coursing through him. Anger was present, but it wasn't always that way in the past. When he first started boxing, he found joy in it. The next day, while everyone else heads to school, Mu goes as well, but without a backpack. He carries no books, only Kang's weapon. Hand on Yang Yang's shoulder. The little guy looks exhausted, mumbling apologies for messing up last time. It's night, and as usual, Mu remains unfazed. Students walk by, staring, including Lee's old bully, who eyes the pair with interest. Then Kim Yoo-jin, the class president, took charge of the meeting. Of course, she spots Mu and lights up with excitement. Seeing Yang Yang brings back memories, but Mu brings her back to the present, reminding her of the favor she owed him. She recalls borrowing the talking lizard the other day and mentions that she had heard about a guy like he described, a bully hunter who took down anyone who crossed his path. Mu feels a bit let down. He had hoped for more even though he was dealing with someone acting like a bully. They figured they would run into this guy again, and next time, he wouldn't let him slip away. Meanwhile, Kang is already present, lurking from behind. Kang steps into the room, glances around, and whispers, "Stay in your seat after class. I'll come find you." He then takes his weapon and continues on his way. Mu hadn't expected to confront him so soon. Just hearing his voice filled him with excitement, and he let Kang walk away without protest. She wondered if Mu and Kang were friends, or if there was something she didn't know. Still staring after him and anticipating their meeting after class, she simply replied with one line, "Bully hunter." From then until the end of class, Mu maintained that eager expression. He reassured himself that he could. He waited as long as necessary for a real fight, but his right leg wouldn't stop shaking, an endless tremor. Yang Yang had to spend the entire day dealing with the constant shaking caused by the earthquake. After the school day ended and everyone had left, Mu went straight to the class president and handed over the proposal. Poor Yang Yang. He tells Kim Yoo-jin he has something urgent to do. She happily takes on the task. The little lizard scurries toward the exit. Suddenly, a hand emerges from the other side of the room. It's Kang. Of course, it was Kang. This is the moment Mu has been waiting for. Finally, Kang arrives. He steps inside, shuts the door, and calmly reaches in too. He reached into his backpack, pulled out his training gloves, and slipped them on. Mu felt a bit surprised. They wonder if Kang is about to perform the belt trick that Mu did earlier. As he finishes putting on the second glove, Kang looks at him and asks if he actually enjoys fighting. Mu shakes his head and insists that he doesn't. What he enjoys is the hit itself. The pain and shock he feels when he gets punched is exhilarating. He relishes the burn in his muscles as he pushes past his limits. After more than 3 million years of conflict, this sensation is the only thing that has ever been truly created. Mu's face lit up as he reflected on how it made him feel alive. Twists into an eager, almost unsettling grin. Kang hesitates, considering that this guy might be unstable. He lets it go, unzips his bag again, and pulls out another pair of gloves and tosses them aside. Mu allows the gloves to smack him in the face, then snatches them before they hit the ground. Kang sets his bag in the corner and tells him to put them on. He insists on keeping it fair, stating he can't take a fight seriously if his opponent isn't even a thug. Mu slips on the gloves, rushes toward him, and throws a punch. Kang blocks the first punch and slips to the side. I was a little annoyed that Mu didn't even let me finish. He finished what he was going to say. He reminds himself that he came here for a fight, so there's no point in getting angry. After they trade a flurry of punches and blocks before both step back for a moment to reassess the situation. He uses that pause to reset. Drawing on his pro boxing experience, he reminds himself to relax. He keeps his body loose and focuses on control rather than just power. Mu rushes in once more. This time, Kang is prepared. He blocks cleanly without taking a hit and strikes Mu on the jaw twice. Glancing at his hand, he feels a sense of satisfaction. The power and accuracy surprise him, prompting him to repeat the same motion on Mu. As if testing his strength, he loosens his muscles, rotates his body, and drives his fist straight into the target with precision. Now Kang appears fired up, eager to confront Mu. Some painful yet practical boxing lessons leave an impression on Mu as well. But instead of backing down, he retaliates. He was filled with excitement. This was exactly what he had wanted. On the third floor, a red-haired guy is dozing off. During a night of self-study, he suddenly begins to tremble as if he is experiencing a seizure. He jolts awake from a nightmare, disoriented and unsure of his surroundings. On his desk, he finds an unfriendly note calling him out for always sleeping in class, and Shade's handwriting has come under scrutiny. Without taking the time to discover who left it, he checks the time on his phone and decides to head out. He grabs his backpack and hits the road. Upon reaching the second floor, something catches the eye. His eye had two shadows, as if they were having a fight. Kang and his opponent are still locked in battle. Right then, Lu is cornered and stuck on defense. He thinks quickly and lifts as he plants his foot on Kang's chest, halting him and bringing him to a stop. Surprise attack. As Kang staggers, taken aback, Mu lunges for a follow-up kick aimed at Kang's face, was swiftly countered as he raised his guard just in time. He looks furious, demanding to know why he was being kicked when this was supposed to be boxing. Mu smirked and said, "What are you talking about? I don't even." Before Kang could respond, Mu jumped in again, aiming another kick while taunting him. "Who said we're only using fists?" they declared as a kick slammed into Kang, pushing him backward. For a moment, Kang was rattled. As a boxer, he was unprepared for kicks. Mu pressed the advantage and landed a solid hit. Kang couldn't believe that someone had. It looked weak, but it was delivering a heavy kick. Mu then switched targets and aimed at a crucial spot below. Kang froze. If that hit, he would be in serious trouble. Mu's kick was powerful and decisive. It landed cleanly, but nothing happened. Mu jumped back, creating space between them, a smug smile on his face as if he had intentionally held back. In reality, he had given it his all, but the physical boost from Yang had already worn off. The moment he realized it, panic set in. Without that power, he understood he stood no chance against Kang. Kang, still feeling a bit shocked, sensed that something was off. Mu wasn't the type to show mercy, so why was he acting this way? Didn't he finish it? Kang smirked and replied, "Don't tell me you just lost your strength." He assumed Mu was simply exhausted. Mu kept a straight face, while Kang acted as if he were in the right. He had convinced himself of something amusing and began to laugh. Mu seemed frozen, caught in a moment of disbelief, unsure of how to continue the fight. Behind the classroom door, the red-haired guy had been watching the awkward fight unfold. The strange laughter, as if it were part of a comedy show, really turned him off. He simply walked away, uninterested in their petty argument, dismissing it as disgusting. Mu chooses to take on a defensive role. Kang seizes the opportunity and charges forward. Kang seized the opportunity, targeting a vital spot that Mu had left exposed. Mu's knee couldn't protect him. A single strike sent him spinning and handed the advantage to Kang. With a clean opening, Kang delivered a powerful punch to Mu's head, causing him to reel backward. Mu crashed into the wall and slumped down, a wave of realization washing over him. He understood that with his physique, he couldn't compete against Kang's solid, muscular build. Then, a desperate idea began to form. If he could tap into a fragment of his original mana, he might stand the chance. Overpowering this opponent wasn't exactly dependable, but it was all he had. He pushed himself up, trying to regain his footing, and focused on channeling even a small amount of magic into his fist before unleashing it with a powerful strike. As he lunged forward, Kang caught the punch mid-air. A smug grin appeared on Kang's face as he handed him something. But suddenly, she felt something odd and instinctively glanced behind her to see what it was. Mu didn't hesitate. He launched a powerful punch to Kang's face. Immediately afterward, Kang grabbed Mu's other hand, ready to shut him down. When that feeling hit him again, he turned to check on Mu. He took the opening once more, this time employing his most reliable weapon. The headbutt sent Kang crashing backward, slamming him into the classroom door. Mu stood over him, trying to determine whether he was unconscious or just playing dead. His mana plan had actually worked, or if he was merely imagining it. After a moment, he realized he had actually condensed air is created using this method. Since there is no mana available, Earth, as cool as that was, he was more focused on his own desires. He leaned in, ready to take action. Do the ear thing he's done too. Others when Kang suddenly snapped awake, saving his own life. Kang shoved Mu away and staggered back, trying to regain his balance. He was still feeling dizzy. He admitted that he had underestimated Mu and said he lost, but he wasn't about to give up an inch. He looked like he wanted to say something, but with his nose throbbing and his head pounding, he struggled to find the words. Spinning, he struggled to string a sentence together, so he muttered an excuse and bolted fast. Watching Mu look disappointed. Adding Kang to his list of playthings wasn't going to happen today. A while later, at Kim Yoo-jin's place, Yang is about to. He was set to depart with a bag twice his size, already sweating. On his way home, he spotted Kang in the distance. Woozy and clutching his bruised face, he recognized him instantly, the guy who had kicked him earlier for no reason. He dropped the bag and lunged forward, aiming a headbutt just like his mentor taught him. Yet, even in his dazed state, Kang saw him coming. At the last moment, he swung, striking the unfortunate lizard mid-air. For a brief instant, Kang stood there, startled and confused, not even realizing what had just hit him. He wondered what kind of dog had just attacked him. Turning away, he hurried home to rest. As soon as he disappeared, Mu stepped forward to Yang's crumpled body, gazing down at him. The next morning, Mu is back on the street heading to school, this time wearing a brand new uniform, with Yang is riding in his new backpack. The little guy is carrying clothes inside and asks how it works. Mu likes them so much that he even bragged about how Kim Yoo-jin, whom he refers to as Yang's subordinate, bought the uniform. He brought a backpack for Mu to keep him satisfied and decided to stay hidden for now to avoid drawing attention. Across the road, Kang spots Mu and asks why he was there. Mu was wearing a school uniform on a Saturday and just asked what was going on. Saturday evening arrived and Kang appeared somewhat annoyed but then shifted his demeanor. He revisited the topic and expressed what he had intended to say yesterday. He asked again if Mu liked fighting, and Mu gave the same answer. He fights because he has to. Kang didn't really believe him after seeing his expression during yesterday's fight, especially the grins. He moved on and suggested that Mu start hanging out with him, mentioning that if they did, he wouldn't always be bored searching for fights. The moment Mu heard that, a thrilling smile spread across his face as he began to shake with anticipation. Kang didn't need a reply. The answer was obvious. Then Mu blurted out, "Take me somewhere I can fight." Kang clarified that he didn't mean right now. He was referring to another time. From inside the bag, Yang kept watch, plotting his revenge for losing to Kong twice. It's Friday morning at Jirogi High, not Mu's school. A student stands guard at the entrance, vigilant and attentive. The restroom door is blocking access for everyone. Inside, a large guy asks another student how much he has made. It was the same thief that Mu had beaten up the other day. Shaking, the kid pulled out some cash and said it was only $20,001. The big reveal of Yanjo caused a stir, as she expressed that it wasn't even close to what she had expected. The thief complained that Kang had interfered and he could have made more by selling the bike. Upon hearing Kang's name, Yanjo lost his focus. He remained calm, punched the wall, and ordered the guy to call everyone. On a Saturday evening, Mu and Kang are walking together. Kang expresses his gratitude to Mu and confesses that he used fight with purpose. After meeting Mu, he discovered that he could find joy in combat. Mu then encouraged him to fight him now instead of wasting time searching for random weaklings to defeat. Kang said he wasn't. They are about to fight Mu now, but he promised that they would have a fair rematch soon. As he spoke, Mu noticed smoke rising in the distance, and Kang saw it too. The smell of cigarettes hung heavily in the air, as if many were being smoked at once. Once the smoke thickened, Kang slipped on his mask and glasses, aware that their first target of the night was just ahead. Moving in without hesitation, they used the haze to sneak closer without being detected. Two men were stationed at the front, chatting, while Mu lingered deeper in the alley. One of the men in front spotted Kang and assumed he was just passing by, telling him to hand over his wallet. That was all Kang needed. He quickly snatched it from the man's hand, feeling the weight of the cash inside. Realizing he had found his target, he punched the man in the face. The other thug recognized him as the bully hunter and shouted a warning. More people emerged from down the alley, and Kang realized there were he called Mu over, who was already standing by, ready for action. As always, he wore his sweater pulled over his head to conceal his face. Kang charges ahead, shouting for Mu to follow, but Mu hesitates. As always, he can't start unless someone hits him first. The man Kang had punched grabs Mu's leg and asks if he is with him, which is good enough for everyone. Mu counts it as a pinch and jumps in. A few minutes later, all the thugs are gathered together. Mu, frustrated by their perceived weakness, notes that their respiratory systems are below average. Kang then notices a small bag, picks it up, and hands it back to the victim, a girl with red hair from the school he likes. Before Kang can speak, more men arrive. The gang is there because one thug had managed to escape. They had spotted Kang and were there to confront him, intending to punish him for interfering with their so-called work. Kang decided it was time to get serious and took decisive action. He pulled out his weapon, and Mu's expression shifted as he felt a surge of excitement upon realizing the fight wasn't over. The real fun was just about to start. A full-on brawl, his favorite type of fight. Mu charges through the group, taking them down one after another. Another heavy slap cracks across his face. It's Yang Zhou, of course, with one. With a clean hit, he sends Mu crashing to the ground. He then questions why there are two Kangs. Nearby, a red-haired man walks by, muttering about why no one answered his calls. Hearing a commotion, he goes to investigate. Upon arrival, he witnesses the brawl unfolding before him. Disgust washes over him as he wonders if they have enough time to intervene, but he stops short, realizing he can't just leave things unresolved. He then spots the girl cornered with Kang standing in front of her. She relies on Heejin for protection. His dad was an MMA champion, a remarkable athlete whom he idolized as the strongest person he knew. However, everything changed when his dad began using drugs to enhance his strength, and it felt as though he had lost his mind. His dad transformed into a violent person, no longer the man he once was, exhibiting aggression not only in the ring, but also at home. His mom finally escaped, returning home and leaving the kids behind. Heejin, despite knowing he couldn't, still felt a strong desire to try. Above all, he had to protect his sister. He watched his dad's matches and admired his skill on the field. Practicing in secret, he grew and developed his abilities quietly, honing his skills away from prying eyes. When he eventually reached his dad's size, the incident occurred. He finally stood up for himself and his sister, fighting back because he believed his life was in danger. His dad called him ungrateful, shouting that he would kill Heejun and his little sister. Upon hearing that, Heejin, in that moment, driven by anger and fear that he killed his father. It was murder, but the court considered his circumstances. He received a 1-year sentence in a juvenile detention center. During that year, Heejun continued to attend school. While attending school and working to support himself and his sister, he couldn't afford to get sick or hurt, treating his body as the sole thing keeping them alive. That is, watching guys like Mu and Kang throw themselves into reckless fights always disgusted him. Heejin would never act like them. But now that he found himself in this situation, he felt the pressure mounting. He has seen his little sister Dao Jun being cornered, and he knows he has to fight, something he never does unless there is a compelling reason. Is a threat to his or his sister's survival. Yanzhou stood there, still confused about the reason behind it all. Suddenly, there were two Kangs, but he didn't notice. Heejun approaches from behind. Out of nowhere, it strikes with a weak force. Spotting Yanzhou caused him to drop to his knees. Heejun grabs his opponent's head with one hand and slams it into the ground, taking the big guy down. Meanwhile, Yang continues to yell for help to wake his master as Heejun steps on him while preparing for the next move. He rushes as fast as he can to reach his sister. Poor Yang doesn't do anything, yet he always ends up getting beaten. Kang watches as Heejun effortlessly takes down the bullies as if they are nothing. With only 2 thugs remaining, they are on the verge of completing their mission. Heejun grabs their faces and slams them into the ground. He then stops in front of Kang, staring him down as she declares that they have crossed a line. Panicking, Kang starts to explain why he was there, but when Daljin calls out for her brother, Kang turns. Around him, he was surprised because he didn't know she had it before Kang could process it. Heejun stepped in. Just in time, Kang's reflexes kick in, and he swiftly reacts to the situation. Heejun slips past the counters, and instead of striking, he plants a hand on Kang, shoving him back. Heejun takes Daljin's hand. He urged her to run with him, and then she takes off, dropping her wallet without realizing it. And as they run, Yanzhou feels the adrenaline coursing through her veins, pushing her to keep pace with her companions. The wind whips past her, and the ground beneath her feet blurs in a rush of motion. She can hear the sounds of their footsteps echoing around her, a reminder of the urgency of their escape. With each stride, she focuses on the path ahead, determined to stay one step ahead of the danger that lurks behind them. Standing there, blocking the alley exit, Yanzhou looked absolutely furious. He yelled, demanding to know what was going on. Heejun had arrived, questioning whether that bastard, the third Kang, was present. Without pausing for a conversation, Heejun prepared to confront him. As he made his way through, Yanzhou suddenly got punched out of nowhere. In the face of adversity, it was Mu, back on his feet and eager for the challenge ahead. He-jin sees the fight as an opportunity to reflect on his identity, questioning not only who he is, but also the deeper implications of his actions. He opens up to the possibility of pulling his sister out of danger. Meanwhile, Mu is determined to rescue her, but the situation grows increasingly tense as obstacles emerge. Laughing, Kang snaps at him, questioning why he revealed his face. Meanwhile, Yanjo struggles to regain her footing, searching for the source of that second punch, just in time to see the attacker running away. A while later, Kang begins to sketch Yanjo and informs Mu about the identity of the assailant. Yanjo was identified as one of the three most infamous delinquents, collectively known as Gadori. Kang elaborates on the situation, detailing how the top bully at their school has been causing significant distress among the students. Noting that they had only recently begun to act up, Kang observed that Yanjo was the key, which explained his behavior as the leader. Yet, despite everything, Mu still appeared lost and asked Kang to clarify what he meant. In response, Kang snapped, questioning whether Mu even had a brain or if it was just for decoration. At that moment, Yang Yang emerged from his hiding spot, eager not to miss out on the fun. To endure the insults any longer, he yells at Kang and even calls him out, a bastard, demanding to know how he dared to be so rude to God Mu. Kang, he looks shocked, completely taken aback by the sight of a talking frog. Mu suddenly introduces Yang Yang as his assistant, or perhaps something more. Kang begins to grow suspicious of Mu, unsure of his true intentions. Basic knowledge, such as the names of the days of the week. Now he's bringing in a walking, talking frog as his assistant. Mu is genuinely impressed that a human like Kang was able to figure out he is inhuman. They continue their conversation. Kang asks Mu if he's an alien, to which Mu replies that he's a god. Kang responds by saying he doesn't look like a god, he looks more like an idiot. Mu immediately asks what alien even means. All of this is taking place in President Kim's house. She initially wonders why they are even there, but her annoyance soon fades. Kang keeps it simple for Mu as he watches Yang Yang playing with her phone. The target is the big guy who slapped Mu and took him down before Mu could land a punch. Reflecting on the past fills Kang with rage. Mu finally realizes who is pursuing him, and he feels a sense of satisfaction from having engaged in a genuine fight, appreciating the unique experience and the impact it had on him after such a long time. This thought energizes Mu. He recognizes that facing someone like that is a significant challenge, but he is aware that his current body isn't prepared for it. Kang agrees, noting that Mu tires out quickly, and he tells him this directly. However, Mu declines the invitation, stating that he needs something more diverse, more intense, and more rugged. Meanwhile, Yang Yang, who has been playing with Kim's phone, discovers an underground arena featuring an undefeated champion. A fighter on a 13-fight win streak is known for taking opponents down in seconds. The girl streaming comments that anyone daring to face this fighter should be prepared for a formidable challenge. The winner will receive Mu. Kang watches closely and soon recognizes the fighter, who states that he is with the Gadori. Gang, that's all Mu needs. He sets his sights on the prize. Use this as training to defeat Yanjo and then take down the Gadori gang, one by one. Meanwhile, in the divine realm, a powerful entity was at work. A magical attack crashes into the earth. In God's domain, Lucifer is throwing everything into chaos. As the dust settles at Mu, he stares around at the small earth, only to find it untouched and unblemished. This sight is unbearable for him, and memories come flooding back. Mu shattered Lucifer's barrier, overcoming the formidable defenses that had long kept him at bay. With determination and skill, he navigated through the intricate layers of protection, ultimately breaking through to confront the dark forces within. This pivotal moment marked a significant turning point, as Mu's courage and resolve allowed him to challenge the very essence of Lucifer's power. His ability to control his own planet with ease infuriates him. Yanjo shares that anger. He kicks and punches a door, furious with our protagonist and Kang, while someone remains trapped inside. In the bathroom, Yang ponders whether the situation is truly urgent. Joe eventually walks out of the restroom feeling frustrated about not receiving any money. Yanjo is still frustrated about not catching Kang. The same small guy from earlier tries to cheer him up. Up ahead, she shows him Dolgen's wallet that she dropped earlier. Yanjo quickly snatches it, shakes it, and a few measly coins clatter out. He completely loses it, believing the little thief is mocking him with pocket change. Her student ID also falls out, and as he picks up the card, he can't help but grin. Realizing he can take advantage of the situation, Mu and Yang Yang head outside the next morning, with Yang Yang guiding Mu through the streets on their way to the arena. Suddenly, Yang Yang lets out a fart, causing the group to erupt in laughter. Everyone turns to him, some in disbelief and others in amusement. He chuckles sheepishly, attempting to play it off, but the moment only enhances the lighthearted atmosphere. As the man jogs alongside his unattractive dog, the moment it catches a scent, the dog's nose twitches, and it snaps, lunging straight at Yang Yang and biting him. The figure retreats, leaving a palpable tension in the air. As the dog calms down, Yang Yang is left feeling sore, and they both separate, throwing angry glares. Yang Yang decides that the lowly creature, as he calls him, it's just crazy. He promises he'll get his payback once he regains his magic. After a while later, they finally reach their destination. The little girl from the video is there, eagerly waiting for them. At a table, they reviewed applicants, either approving or rejecting them. When it's Mu's turn, she immediately spots his school uniform, even recognizes which school it is. He asks if she's correct. Before he can, Dragon Yang whispers for him to simply agree. She moves on and inquires about the type of fighting experience that qualifies him for the Mu. Doesn't understand what she means at first, so she explains that boxing, wrestling, martial arts, and even street fighting all count. He pauses and begins counting alongside Yang Yang, assisting him with the math. Mu. He casually mentions that he has around 3 million years of fighting experience. The people in line burst into laughter, but the girl handling registrations actually likes his answer and gives him a pass. He asks for the entry fee of 50,000. Yang Yang pulls out the cash he had used. Kim trusted him enough to let him swipe her wallet. The problem is that they only brought about 46,000, which is 4,000 short. The girl seems to like Mu and allows him to stay. As he walks away, something makes him pause. A large man in a green hat and jacket leans against the post. Mu stares for a moment, noticing the man's serious build and defined muscles, which clearly indicate that he has dedicated time to fitness. Although Mu hasn't seen the man's face yet, he can feel his presence drawing closer. This might be the Godary guy that Kang mentioned. A few minutes later, just as the event is about to begin, it turns out it's not a guy, it's a girl, or at least someone who closely resembles one. The little streamer girl kicks things off by introducing the undefeated champion while everyone eagerly anticipates the match. Else forms a wide circle around them as the whistle blows, marking 13 wins in a row. Mu steps confidently into the center, as if it's a straight shot. In one-on-one situations, he usually waits for the other person to make the first move. However, this time, both sides have decided to stand firm. The center signals that both are ready, but before Mu can proceed, the host rushes over and stops him. She pulls a piece of paper from her pocket and tells him there are rules. This isn't a street brawl. He can't just act without consequences. Jump the champion. It's a tournament. Didn't he watch? Mu backs off and goes along with the broadcast. After some time, it's finally his turn. His opponent turns out to be the same guy whose dog had previously attacked. The host introduces Mu as a self-proclaimed fighter with 3 impressive victories to his name and millions of years of experience. He then introduces another man as a Chinese martial artist. From a distance, Yang Yang scans his surroundings while listening intently. As the crowd places bets on the fight, the sound of non-stop barking catches his attention. The dog looks familiar, and he soon realizes it's the same one he saw earlier. The same one that bit him on the way out. Energized, he leaps out of his bag with a huge jump, creating a commotion. People look up as something lands near Mu. Yang Yang asks what's going on, but he ignores the question and focuses on the dog. He challenges the dog to a fight as it dashes through the arena, seizing the moment. The crowd watches in anticipation as the dog comes to a halt. That's when its owner asks his dog, Cerberus, how it managed to untie its leash. The interviewer, thrilled by the spectacle, announces a rare double. Match. Master and pet fight together as a team once more. More dramatically, she hypes up Mu in the Chinese. The guy then announces the lizard's matchup against the Chinese mad dog. People often wonder what kind of lizard has horns and wings. Then the girl calls the next match. The guy says he would use an old animal-style technique and claims no unarmed person could handle it. He shapes his fingers like a skilled artist, ready to create something extraordinary. Claus warns Mu not to underestimate him before charging forward. Mu just stands there while the Chinese man looks on. Fired up, he announced his tiger-style finger. strike. But Mu moves first, showing no hesitation. He delivers a powerful punch to his opponent's stomach, sending him crashing to the floor. It dawns on him that he was the one who underestimated Mu. As he struggles to rise, Mu questions the style of imitation, suggesting that while animals can mimic, humans have their limits too. The boy pushes himself up, fighting through the pain, only to realize that Mu isn't with him. He feels like a regular kid, but inside, he's as solid and unyielding as a concrete wall. Refusing to give up, he decides to use the move his master instructed him never to use on others. He lowers his hands to the ground, while Mu simply stares, wondering what this guy is trying to accomplish. Meanwhile, most all eyes are on Yang Yang and the dog. Yang Yang is drained and trying to figure out how to cope. This crazy dog is terrible at hand-to-hand combat, but the dog won't let him be and charges in. Right before reaching Yang Yang, the Chihuahua stops and pulls a toy from its bag. A ninja-style trick reminiscent of Killua's rhythm echo leaves the crowd stunned, especially the streamer girl, who is left wondering if the dog is a member of the Zoldyck family. Meanwhile, Yang Yang suddenly finds himself surrounded by 3 dogs. He guesses the one in the middle, but the real one is elsewhere. He slipped in and to the left, bit Yang Yang's neck. The scene unfolds with tension as the characters navigate their complex emotions, revealing hidden motivations and deep-seated conflicts. The scene shifts to the owner in a 4. In a low, grounded stance, they suddenly launch forward with explosive speed. Mu remains calm as laughter erupts from the crowd. His master is using a strange technique. There was also a spirit, a tear running down his cheek as he spoke. He had been advised not to use that move on people, especially not in public. Tries to determine the angle as he is attacking from such a low position. The guy leaps in and goes for a bold move. Tiger delivers a powerful paw strike, but Mu remains unaffected. Reacting quickly, the Chinese boy swipes. Mu realizes that if those had been real claws, he would be dead. The kid doesn't let up. He charges again, mixing his attacks with precision and determination, drawing on all kinds of animal movements. One moment, he moves like a cat, and the next, he is completely still. He playfully bites Mu's leg, nipping and tugging with enthusiasm like a puppy. Chihuahua attempts a back kick to the face, reminiscent of a horse's powerful strike. Mu has never encountered an opponent who uses their muscles in such a way, making it difficult for him to read their movements. Despite this, Mu starts to feel a surge of excitement. His gaze shifts to Cerberus beside him, ready to join Yang Yang once more, and it clicks. If the person is imitating 4-legged animals like his dog, the weak spot should match as well. Right then, the Chinese man rushes in again, but Mu suddenly drops to one knee, loading all his strength. He channeled his power into his legs and suddenly he launches straight up, jumping higher than ever before. The fighter briefly loses sight of his opponent as the crowd erupts with excitement at the start of the martial arts competition. The artist finally looks up at the guard and Mu descends, landing firmly on the ground with a foot on his head, smashing his face down. Mu has discovered the perfect strategy for facing an opponent in combat. On all fours, they are struck from above, and the crowd cheers while a few spectators watch in disbelief. They groan over their lost bets on the Chinese guy. Mu glances over to check on his assistant. He scans the area and spots the Chihuahua already there. Mu gives the dog a treat, and with a hard stare, it flops over. Playing dead, the announcer describes Mu's win as an ugly one. Mu steps in to leave his mark after the dog's forfeit, while Yang Yang hangs on by a thread. He intervenes, stating that it's forbidden. The announcer smoothly transitions the event along to match 6. Mu faces a new opponent, Hai Yang, the same fighter who left Mu with visible marks on his arm and ear during their last encounter. Now, they meet again in the ring. While not fully healed, this is the last thing. Hai Yang desires something, yet he steps up regardless, even though he doesn't feel like facing it. Mu, on the other hand, looks like the complete opposite. He is excited for their rematch. Hai Yang reassures himself that he will be fine as long as he doesn't. He drops his guard like last time, and the announcer kicks it off. Who's going to take on the undefeated champion? Immediately, both fighters throw their punches. As the opener begins, they trade punches, and somehow, it's Mu who takes the lead. He feels a shock as pain shoots to his hand, causing him to jerk away. He pulls his hand back, while Hai Yang appears fine and somewhat relieved to finally repay some of the pain Mu caused him. Mu steadies himself as he leans into the pain, which serves as proof that he's alive. He came to Earth for a specific purpose, driven by his mission and goals. The twisted expression on his face makes Hai Yang flinch. Yang adjusts his stance and launches a series of quick jabs at Mu, aiming to unsettle him. He follows up with a powerful kick, fully aware that Mu views him as a rival and not just a boxer who might overlook an opportunity. The kick was on its way, but before Yang could even swing, Mu's muscles tensed, revealing his readiness. Mu jumps in and delivers a powerful blow to the guy's knee, just enough to take him down. Reminiscent of the strike Kang used against him, he then follows up with a decisive hit, executing the moves he learned in training with precision and confidence. Meanwhile, the battle against Kang rages on, as heroes unite to confront the formidable foe, remaining steadfast in their mission and undeterred by distractions. Yang's warnings served as a crucial reminder of the potential dangers ahead. Mu tears off another piece of Yang's ear, and no one in the crowd intervenes to stop the crazed man. Things calm down as the time approaches for the final match against the girl with a 13-win streak. Mu is energized as she faces off against 3 opponents. Times in a day what? A blessing for him. Before the girl could finish announcing the match, Mu rushed in. His opponent delivered a surprising long leg kick aimed at his face. He raised his guard just in time, successfully blocking the attack. Mu quickly realized she was fast, and they immediately went back at it. The girl unleashed a flurry of kicks while Mu found himself stuck dodging her relentless attacks and blocking, unable to get close enough to counter with his own strikes. She keeps her distance, making it difficult for Mu. Anyone from Godori is tougher than expected. He decides to try again and makes the same goofy face, wondering what can he do against her long reach. He jumps in to close the gap, maintaining that determination, an expression that distracts him, and then she nails him with a kick to the face, prevents him from reaching her. He quickly changes plans and delivers a swift kick at her head, but his leg is just a bit off. The spinning kick only knocks off a few opponents, but it doesn't have the impact needed to turn the tide of the battle. Her hat was blown away, leaving her surprised but unharmed. Mu steps back, revealing the noticeable height difference. She makes the decision to get serious and rushes in. Faster, he drives a kick at Mu, but he blocks with both hands, and she immediately goes for another kick. And he finds himself in a difficult situation as he comes to understand all of her complexities. Attacks aim high, but just as they're about to land, they shift to the right. Suddenly, he vanishes, leaving her in disbelief. She looks around, shocked to find Mu. Her movements become even more fluid as she observes him on all fours, perfectly mimicking the style of the Chinese man from earlier, a technique he has clearly mastered. He understands this instinctively. This is his best chance against the lamppost girl. He switches styles, and it's effective. She's clearly not accustomed to dealing with someone who moves so low. Mu lunges forward like a dog, her energy palpable as she advances. She attempts the same face kick as before, but her form is off. The crowd erupts in cheers as this new approach proves to be effective. The Chinese fighter realizes that Mu has quickly adopted his techniques. This unexpected mimicry leaves him both impressed and frustrated as he grapples with the implications of his own style being so easily replicated. After training for 5 years, he and his master watch, hearing the same people who they once laughed at that style, but now they cheer for it, leaving the guy's master blushing. Back to the fight. Mu presses forward, showcasing his determination and skill. As he dodges, he decides to make a quick move, circling around her. She feels the rush of air as they move swiftly, the world blurring at the edges of her vision. Suddenly, she senses he's about to be hit from behind. She spins and delivers a kick, making contact. Checking her surroundings, she realizes she only hit her own hat and Mu pops. Suddenly, he appears right in front of her, ready to make his move. The heavy behemoth imitation fist was something the girl definitely deserved. Mu originally hails from Earth. However, about 3,000 years before he ascended to godhood, he was compelled to live on Lucifer's designated planet, a place overflowing with chaos and darkness, where the atmosphere crackles with tension. With mana in the environment, the animals evolved into monsters, and Mu not only survived but thrived, growing stronger by hunting and consuming them. Among these creatures, one towered above the rest of Behemoth, massive and more powerful than anything Mu had ever faced. He devised a straightforward plan to rearrange his muscles. To match the beast as closely as possible, she prepares to strike. The tall girl is caught off guard and can only watch as it approaches. Mu slams into her with such force that the impact sends her crashing backward into a bench and table. She takes a moment to catch her breath. The blow leaves a sharp sting. She feels pain in her side, but Mu isn't letting her off the hook. He leaps after the tall girl, fully committed and giving it his all. As he raises his hands, the announcer jumps in midair and stops him. She interrupted, declaring that the match was over because the tall girl had been disqualified. thrown out of the ring. On the stream, she announces Mu's victory over the champion with a 13-fight winning streak. The crowd is frustrated with the lackluster performance. As a result, he didn't even finish her properly, and the finale ended up feeling very anticlimactic. The girl concludes the broadcast with a look of satisfaction. Then, feeling annoyed, she tells Mu that she'd give him his. A prize of 1 million won is offered, and he is instructed to follow. A short while later, she guides him into a quiet alley, engaging in conversation. As they walk, she explains the situation, telling him that she feels overwhelmed by the recent events. He only won the right to challenge the final opponent, but there is still one left. Without warning, she spins, she jumps, and drives her knee into his chest. Mu was simply standing there with his hands in his pockets. He drops immediately, stunned and struggling to process what just happened. The hit was far too much for his current body. Then, she reveals herself as one of Godori's top 3, Kim. Chang-gu Mu wasn't surprised at all. He could sense something was amiss from the way Chang-gu tensed up. An ambush was approaching, and instead of dodging or blocking, he chose to stand his ground. He was prepared to fight again, but he didn't anticipate how hard she would hit. The blow left him unable to move, and all he could do was watch her walk away. The tall girl nearby has been waiting to support her. Upon seeing Jung-gu, she looked ashamed and kept apologizing for letting her guard down and causing trouble. Chung-gu told her that it was okay and reassured her that everyone makes mistakes. It was fine, and she urged her to hurry as they took off. Mu barely. He crossed toward the street and, in a shaky voice, said while crawling, "Not to go, and that he could still fight." He calls out to Yang Yang. He needs the healing orb to chase them, but Yang Yang isn't here. Cut to Lee's bully, who is sprinting with something tucked under his arm. His shirt clung to him as he sweated and panicked, wondering how it had gotten this bad. A few days earlier, Haiyang had introduced him to an online gambling site. He played a few games to earn a little extra money. He cashed out and withdrew 5 million won from his mom's account. Terrified of what his parents would do, the only logical conclusion he could reach was to keep his thoughts to himself. He thinks of gambling it all back. There is a place he heard about, a service that offers student loans using collateral, as explained by the man at the counter. She gives him an annoyed look and says, "What the hell is this?" The bully catches his breath and unwraps the bundled shirt. Out comes Yang Yang, unable to speak. He pulls up a photo of a tuatara, a rare reptile native to New Zealand. A lizard from New Zealand, holding it next to Yang Yang, attempts to sell it as a mutated tuatara. The clerk appears skeptical, and she glances toward a quiet man sitting in the corner. He walks out of the place, clearly not happy at all. Although it was only 1 million less than he had hoped for, it was still better than expected. He returns to gambling without hesitation. At that moment, a person in a hoodie, whoever they may be, brushes past. At the desk, they placed a Daljan school ID as collateral. The man in the black suit behind the counter tells them to leave. The hoodie is worn by someone who is clearly not Daljan, as the guy points out. She has edited the photo extensively, yet the student ID remains valuable. He hands over 500,000 won and deducts the interest up front, which is 50,000, and reminds her to make the payments on time, which are due in 1 week. She rushes out, glancing around as she moves. The man behind all Yangzhou steps in and stops her, asking if she pulls out the cover, calling it as she counts the cash. A success. They continue walking, and she asks him why she had to. Yang Zhou replies that he couldn't borrow money from that place. Back inside Grandma Money Collateral, the boss in the purple hoodie is toying with Jun's ID. His employee approaches him and asks why he lent money to those questionable students when it's clear they might not be trustworthy. It's evident they won't be able to pay it back. The boss smirks, pleased with his financial gain, and presents a few options to consider. One option involves using a card that can be easily inserted into a wooden board, assuring you that there are multiple ways to secure it effectively. He has plenty of methods to retrieve his money. That board is where Yang Yang is situated, tied up in the center, surrounded by a collection of other ID cards. The next day at school, a scream echoes down the hall. It's President Kim. Yang Yang has been missing since yesterday. Mu only mentioned what happened because he felt it was important to share. He thought it would be a simple matter, but seeing her reaction, he realizes he was mistaken. Kim loses control and storms through the classroom, then bolts out to check the rest of the school. Mu is left stunned by how intensely she's freaking out. In another classroom, Kim bursts in, shouting Yang Yang's name. While checking all the lockers, Kang happens to be in that class. He doesn't really know her yet. A few minutes pass, and he starts to notice her more. Later, the door creaks open, and Ronnie Coleman walks in. The class president then tells her to go straight to your seat and stop causing trouble. She turns around upset and tells Mu that she searched the entire school, but still unable to find Yang Yang. Mu remains calm. He already anticipated this outcome. He says he lost it after leaving the arena, not here at school. This prompts Kim to snap and ask why he didn't mention it sooner. Mu places the hand-drawn map on his desk. Kim recognizes it as the one she drew the other day and gave to Yang Yang to help him find the arena. She points to the direction they need to go, indicating the spot where he last saw it. Kim grabs the map and rushes for the door. Ronnie Coleman spots her and sprints after her, catching up in seconds. She pleads with him to let her go, just this once. However, he refuses and brings her back once more. Meanwhile, Mu's mind is elsewhere, preoccupied with his unfinished tasks and the ongoing struggle with the top 3 go-to memories that haunt him every time. He gets close to finishing when someone interrupts, and he can't stop thinking that he needs to take action. The problem is that his body is in rough shape, which frustrates him. He only worked a few muscles for a short time, but now everything aches. As always, he embraces the pain because it fuels his fierce fighting spirit. He knows he must return to the center of the arena to collect another healing orb. But first, he needs to locate Yang. As the school day comes to an end and the bell rings, Kim grabs Mu's hand and quickly pulls him out. As they hit the stairs, they bump into Kang, who immediately recognizes Kim and asks why she's in such a hurry. Kim replies that Yang Yang has. Daljun interrupts, expressing her frustration that she can't. Kim suddenly asks if Jun is Kang's. The girlfriend and both of them quickly dismiss it. Kim apologizes and then begins pleading with them to help her find. The dragon is treated like her own pet. It used to be huge, but has since shrunk to a much smaller size. It starts with a small size and adds more details, but then it realizes everyone has already drifted away and no one is paying attention. He stands there for a moment, feeling left out, but then shrugs it off. He decides to focus. While one person focuses on training and recovery, the other 3 search for his assistant. Perfect outcome. Meanwhile, in the school bathroom, Yang Jo is placing bets when his phone rings loudly. Filled with excitement, he delivers a powerful headbutt to the stall, creating a loud bang. Without holding back, he bursts through the door, ready to celebrate his victory. On his final attempt, he hits the jackpot and secures what he has been aiming for. It looks like a massive reward, and Yang Jo is absolutely thrilled. He begins to envision how he will spend the money. He finally pays off his debt before the interest kicks in and decides to cash out immediately to avoid making a poor decision. When he finally pressed the claim button, something felt off. He tried again, but the payout was still unavailable, and 6 days went by. Later, we return to Mu, who, instead of helping search for Yang Yang, stands in the middle of the hallway, staring at Ronnie Coleman with his signature creepy grin, itching for a fight. Meanwhile, President Kim Daljun has been keeping a full schedule. They searched all week, and even Kang lent a hand where he could, but there was no trace. Finally, Kim and Daljun sit down to rest. Kim apologizes for involving Daljun in the situation, which is particularly significant since she is a senior. Daljun simply smiles and replies that it's fine since she doesn't study anyway. Despite this, Kim is frustrated that Mu didn't help at all, especially since it was his dragon in the first place. Kim offers to get her a drink and encourages her to relax. However, as soon as Kim walks away, a suspicious man approaches Daljun from behind, holding her ID card in hand. A few minutes later, Kim returns with a bag full of drinks, only to notice that Daljun's seat is empty. A few days earlier, we saw Mu behaving oddly in front of the teacher. Although he was a big figure, he wasn't trying to provoke anyone or start a fight. In fact, he was simply impressed by the teacher's physique. He even touched the teacher's chest to feel the strength of his muscles. The teacher nearly commented on how informal Mu's speech had become. Since Mu praised the effort he had put into building those muscles, he let it slide. Then Mu casually announced that he joined the teacher's training session as if he didn't need permission. The scene shifts to the pawn shop owner, who is holding Daljun's ID card. Daljun's identity is now in the spotlight. He showed up and yelled at him to hand it back. The man glared and replied, "They have it because she left it as collateral when she borrowed money from Daljun." She was shocked and insisted she had never been there or borrowed anything. Just then, the secret boss, wearing his ugly purple hoodie, stepped in, slammed the desk, and demanded to know why she was pretending not to remember when it was time to pay up. Realizing that arguing wouldn't be productive, Daljun asks how much she needs to contribute to retrieve her ID. The clerk informs her that the total cost is $550,001, with $50,001 of that amount being interest. Daljun tries to play it cool, mentioning that she could pay soon since it isn't even that much. Then, the enforcer drops her ID into a drawer and says she has 1 week before they come looking for her. Daljan warns them not to lose her card, then storms out and slams the door behind her. The slam annoys the employee, who remarks that kids are hopeless these days, while his boss takes one look at his face and it seems like it's directed at him. The boss calls it. The guy starts to sweat, apologizing and insisting that he wasn't talking about him. The rest of the day unfolds. The same employee remained quiet. He wraps up, locks the office, and places a key on a flower pot before heading out. He mutters about taking orders from someone so small, a little brat like him, before going downstairs. Unbeknownst to him, Daljan is hiding upstairs waiting for this moment. As soon as he leaves, Daljan makes his way to the nearest exit. She headed to the office to grab her ID and then left through the door, which was locked. However, she noticed the key resting on the flower pot. She unlocked the pot and slipped inside without making a sound. There was no way she was going to give her money to scammers. Just after she entered, someone else quietly followed her. She went straight to the desk, yanked open the drawer, and found her ID inside. Retrieve her ID card. Feeling relieved, she decides to take a moment to gather her thoughts. She hurried out quickly, but as she passed from inside the cabinet, a loud noise suddenly erupts. She opens it and discovers a cage. At first, its darkness enveloped the scene, until a pair of glowing eyes appeared, illuminating the surroundings. A face comes into view. It's Yang Yang. He immediately starts yelling to Daljan was let out without even checking who would open the door. She has never seen a dragon before, and it freaks her out. She steps back and bumps into someone. Turning around, it turns out Yang Zhao is right behind her, but she doesn't recognize him. He looks just as surprised, then sees she's. He covers her mouth just as she's about to scream. He whispers to stay quiet so that no one notices him. He then realizes she is the girl whose ID he used. He borrowed money the other day and tells her he's here for his own reasons. ID suggests that they both grab what they came for and keep moving. It's quiet as he exits quickly. Daljan nods, feeling calmer now, and scoops up Yang Yang before leaving. She recalls his face on the way out. Kim had drawn a missing poster, and the resemblance is striking. As she walks out, she thinks these people are terrible for locking up someone's pet. Unbeknownst to her, a security camera captures the entire scene. The next morning, on her way to school, Daljan spots Kim. She runs over, calling her name. Kim is stunned, relieved to see her safe after she went missing the day before. She begins to express her concerns, but Daljan interrupts, simply smiling as she skips the explanation and unzips her backpack. Yang Yang's hands emerge first, followed by him crawling out and gasping for breath. Kim rushes over and hugs him tightly, saying how much she missed him. As she squeezed him, Yang Yang catches a familiar scent and follows it, intrigued by the memories it evokes. As he moves closer, the aroma grows stronger, guiding him through the bustling streets. Each step brings back flashes of laughter and warmth, reminding him of cherished moments from the past. A bolt of energy shoots toward them. Mu is walking by when Yang Yang grabs his arm, unaware that Mu is also reaching for him. Given that Mu's arm is already in bad shape, he instinctively knocks Yang Yang to the ground. Once he realizes who it is, Mu doesn't hesitate. He simply tells Yang Yang to be careful and mentions that his whole body hurts from the ordeal. Kim runs over, screaming at Mu for treating Yang Yang that way. At the pawn shop, the staff notices two customers. ID cards and Yang Yang are missing. They need to be located as soon as possible. Check the cameras to see Daljan sneaking around. In and out, then Yang Zhou followed, grabbing. A man in a black suit asks the boss for guidance, setting the stage for what happens next. He nearly strikes the man for being careless with the situation, but stops himself to take a moment to cool down. Still, he is enraged by the fact that two high schoolers broke into his office and challenged him. Meanwhile, at school during gym class, some kids are engaged in various activities. As the soccer game begins, one excited kid leaps into action, his energy infectious. He races onto the field, eyes shining with anticipation, ready to give it his all. The whistle blows, and the throw of the match ignites a spark within him, fueling his determination to score and lead his team to victory. He winds up for a shot, unaware that Mu stands directly in front of him. Mu remains firm, allowing the ball to smash against him. He takes the challenge and responds with a determined look, but ends up with a bloody nose. The ball drops, and Mu charges at the bald kid, who kicks it before he can react. Mu reaches him and delivers a punch to the stomach. The kid collapses, and Mu stands over him as the other students rush in, preventing that kid from getting hurt as well. The students rush in, and the teacher on the other side finally realizes that something is wrong. Mu is truly enjoying himself. He wonders if this is what physical education is all about and describes it as fun. Kim and Yang Yang find a quiet spot where she hands him her old. He tells her that she can text or call him if she needs anything. Since neither Mu nor Yang Yang has a phone, she figures he should get one. Keep it so they can reach each other. Yang Yang stares at on the phone. It's clear he doesn't understand. She's about to start with the basics when he locks onto something behind them. It's Lee's old bully, still lingering in the shadows. He was glued to that ridiculous gambling game as usual, losing his money. Yang Yang recognizes him as the man who kidnapped him, and he drops the phone and sprints over. The bully looks up, but before he can say anything, Yang Yang leaps onto him and bites down hard on his head. The guy panics, yanks Yang away, and tosses him aside to the ground before sprinting off at full speed. Meanwhile, Mu walks alongside the Holt teacher, who is trying to explain that he can't simply stand by. He must hit anyone who touches him, or he won't be allowed to participate in training, right? The bully slams into Mu, loses his balance, and crashes to the floor. Mu looks down at him, grinning widely and clearly delighted. "Hey," he says, "it's gym time." He leaps onto the guy and starts throwing punches until the teacher intervenes and physically pulls Mu away. Just like that, Mu's exciting day comes to an end as he makes his way back home, with Kim walking alongside him. That it's not realistic. She reminds him that gym class is only once a week, and they have to focus on their other subjects too. Despite her practicality, Mu can't help but imagine the fun they would have if they could play sports every day. Her real P isn't like that. She changes the subject and asks if Mu isn't training today, and as she can spend the rest of the day with Yang Yang, she even invites Mu over, offering to show both of them how to actually use a phone. Daljun and her classmate are working together on a project, chatting and laughing. Kang is on the same route, nursing his sore. His neck looked like he must have slept in an awkward position. Far back, Daljun's brother Haejun is on the phone with the class president. Someone suddenly steps into Daljun's path and identifies her as the owner of a wallet. It's Yang Jo. Looking beat up, she asks for her student ID and states that what they did was caught on camera. He needs to return her ID to whoever is looking for it, as captured on security cameras. Daljun is stunned. She barely recognizes him, and none of it makes sense. It makes sense to her. Yang Jo gets angry. He begins yelling for the ID immediately. He reaches for her backpack to find it himself. The commotion finally catches Kang's attention, and he turns to see what is happening. Heejun's attention shifted the moment the big guy is seen hassling Daljun. They charge straight at him, brushing past Mu, who hasn't noticed what is happening. Meanwhile, Yang Jo attempts to steal Daljun's ID card, and before he can act, Kang and Haejun leap forward. They both charged in and swung at him together. However, their punches miss the mark as Mu steps in. Out of nowhere, he blocks both of them. He isn't being helpful. Yang Jo demanded a one-on-one. Kang and Haejun froze, stunned that Mu had just saved Yang. Yang was taken aback as well. He looked closer and recognized Mu from their past, recalling their last encounter, which had not ended well for him. Yang Jo then grabbed Daljun while Mu watched on, completely oblivious as Daljun yelled for help. Haejun and Kang quickly reacted and took off after Yang. Jo sees them chasing and figures they are after something. He joins the same fight, running alongside them and shouting to join in. Yang Jo ducks into an alley to shake off his pursuers. They all follow him, and he ends up boxed in. Kang recognized the location. It was the same alley where he and Mu had once shared significant moments. Daljun first appeared while being held captive. Yang Jo, he dropped him from her shoulder and hissed at the ground. He tossed his backpack aside, squared up, and confronted them. All three bullies arrived simultaneously. They must be the same hunters who had previously fled from the fight. Mu steps forward and declares that he will fight Yang Jo alone. Haejun shoots Mu a disapproving look and begins to yell. He had only met this guy a few times and didn't even know his name. But one day, something changed. It was obvious to him that Mu was just messing around. Haejun, looking fed up, asks why. Mu blocked their attacks earlier and asks if he will take responsibility if Daljun gets hurt. Mu can tell he's upset, but instead of apologizing, he says, "I'll fight you after I'm done with." At that moment, a hand lands on Mu's shoulder. He squeezes tightly, feeling the pain, shoots through Mu, and Mu turns. Yang Jo yanks free, then quickly grabs him again with a firm grip, determined not to let go. With a different plan in mind, Yang Jo suddenly slips a foot behind him and executes a quick leg sweep, flipping Mu onto the ground and slamming him down. Mu lies there, surprised, eyes wide. Meanwhile, Haejun charges in and grabs Daljun's hand. Once again, he runs away, as avoiding fights is his way of coping. You survive, especially with his sister to protect. Yang Jo watches them leave, but he can't bring himself to follow. stop them. Meanwhile, Mew looks fine. He had expected to feel wrecked, but surprisingly, there's barely any pain. He realizes that his training has paid off. He tightened his back as much as he could and felt a jolt upon hitting the ground, flexing his back once. Suddenly, he appears to release everything at once, popping up without using his hands. Kang asks Mu if he needs assistance, finishing with Yang Zhou, and, of course, Mew waves. He brushed her off, saying he had it under control. Yang Zhou tries to catch him by surprise. He changes tactics and grabs Mew's right arm, grabs his shirt with one hand, and slams him down again. Mew barely feels it. It attributes it to training, but he's unaware of what's truly happening. Each time he hits the ground, Yang is beneath him, absorbing the impact. Then, Yang Zhou's foot strikes directly at Mu's face. Mu jumps back to a safe distance and prepares for the next move. His expression hardens as he realizes that Yang Zhou has just taken something from him. A deliberate shot at his assistant, and for once, he truly cares about Yang. He charges in and unleashes a flurry of punches, refusing to give Yang Zhou struggles to find a moment to breathe. Feeling the weight of the situation pressing down, he can only cover up his true feelings. While the hits keep coming, Mu keeps swinging and fighting back. Yang Zhou wonders how someone so light can hit with such force, realizing he's on the verge of losing control. As Mew rushes in, Yang Zhou makes a final move and charges forward to body slam him with all his strength. Questioning who Yang Zhou really is, Mew's grin disappears as he processes this. Yang Zhou is like a boulder hurtling through the air. He plants his feet and stands firm. Yang Zhou is prepared for the hit. However, the difference in size and weight is brutal, as Yang Zhou shoves him back and tosses him aside. Yet, Mu lands near Kang unscathed. Kang, who has been calmly observing, asks once more if Mu needs any assistance. Mu declines. She hands Yang to him and puts on a brave face, but she has no idea what lies ahead. Handling a guy that big can be challenging, especially when he gets an idea in his head. It's important to approach the situation with confidence and clarity. Communicate your thoughts directly and assertively, ensuring he understands your perspective. Establish boundaries if necessary, and remain calm and composed to diffuse any tension. By staying firm yet respectful, you can navigate the situation more effectively. By targeting weak spots, there is no rock that his fists can't break. He rushes over to Yang Zhou's blind side and delivers two powerful strikes. Quick shots expose Yang Zhou's vulnerabilities. He spins, his movements fluid and graceful as he navigates the vibrant spots around him. But Mu has already leaped to the other side, then drills two more into the front of the target. His thighs tremble as the hits nearly topple Yang Zhou, and he has to extend his arms to steady himself. Realizing he can't keep up with Mew's quick movements, Yang Zhou attempts a different approach. He points past Mew and yells, "This is one-on-one." Mew turns to Kang and tells him to stay out. They say it's fine, but they notice that Kang hasn't moved since taking Yang. Before he can process the feint, Yang Zhou swiftly secures a rear naked choke, tightening his grip around Mew's neck. Mew realizes it's too late and that he can't break free. Kang watches the hold, hesitating as he contemplates his next move. He watches as Mew's face changes color, revealing his struggle. Yang Zhou approaches, but Mu tries to speak, though his throat is being crushed. With only a couple of steps left, Mew gathers all his strength. He gives it everything he has and screams for help. Kang freezes, unsure if Mu is all right. Then he spots Mew, who, with that familiar grin, tells him to never help him again. Mew is still in trouble. The choke is tightening, cutting off blood flow to his brain, and he knows he might black out at any moment. But he has a plan. He suddenly tightens his neck muscles to bulk it up, then immediately contracts them tightly, creating a tiny gap for just a split second. He slides both hands into his pockets. In the space between his neck, Yang Zhou wraps her arms around him and goes. On the counter, Mew squeezes. With everything he has, along with Yang, Zhou can't endure the pain any longer, and Mu manages to slip away. Yang Zhou only becomes angrier, which makes him easier to provoke. Read, especially since he is already in rough shape. Watching him, Mu could see that Yang Zhou was reaching his limit. He looked exhausted. He only needed one clean shot in the right spot to make a significant impact. As he began to fall apart, Mew clenched his fist, ready to finish him off. Just a few days earlier, Mu had been training with the Hulk, who emphasized that form was everything. With great intensity, he demonstrated proper technique by performing squats. Positioned under the bar, he lifted it and rose up, leaning down afterward to tell Mew how great it felt on his legs. Mu observed the teacher's leg muscles, and he studied his movements. After racking the bar and taking a short breather, the teacher noticed Mu walked up to try it. He was shocked and asked if Mu was serious, particularly because with all that weight on it. But Mu lifted the bar off the rack and took a step. As he did, his face remained calm, but his legs wobbled and even bowed out. Realizing that Mu truly intended to squat that load, the teacher attempted to talk him out of it. Mu didn't listen. He wasn't being reckless. He simply had a different approach. Mu was a master of muscles, though the term master doesn't even begin to capture his expertise. Mu could control his body in ways that seemed almost supernatural. His movements were fluid and precise, as if he were dancing to an unseen rhythm. Each gesture was deliberate, showcasing a mastery that left those around him in awe. Whether he was navigating through a crowded space or executing complex maneuvers, Mu's control was both impressive and captivating. He mastered a technique that allowed him to do it any way he liked. He could boost any muscle group whenever he needed to. He was able to distribute muscle fibers as he desired. With that, he can accomplish feats that ordinary people cannot, such as demolishing a building as large as the pyramids of Egypt with a single punch. He hasn't used it in a long time, primarily because he hasn't needed to. However, at this moment, that technique is proving to be more effective than anything else. Back then, right in front of the teacher, he flexed his arm muscle, pushing his fibers to the limit as he cranked out squats faster than anyone else. Now, he shifts the fibers from his left arm to bulk up his right. Kang watches and asks if he's okay, but Mu simply glances at him. Recalling the move Kang used when they first encountered each other, they fought in class and decided to replicate it. He mirrors Kang's technique and delivers a powerful strike to Yanzhou's midsection, prioritizing power over speed. Yanzhou raises both hands to block, but his defense is ineffective, and the punch blasts through his guard, knocking him out, shattering the massive boulder into fragments. Mu stands over him, feeling satisfied after delivering a decisive blow. A guy of his size suddenly realizes he has won. With his last opponent, he tears off a piece of Yanzhou's ear, marking him as Heejun and Daljun are heading home. Heejun asks if she understands why that guy keeps pursuing her. Daljun apologizes for dragging him into it once more. It all begins on the day he first stepped in to save her from danger. The encounter with the thugs, and how she dropped her wallet as they fled. She explains that her ID somehow ended up at a pawn shop and was linked to a debt of $550,001 in her name. No matter what she said, the owners refused to believe that she wasn't the one who borrowed the money. She explains how she was able to retrieve her ID. While attempting to escape, they ran into Yanzhou. After hearing everything, Heejun is taken aback. Furious, he calls the class president, remaining polite even while seething with anger. He informs them that he won't be attending today's meeting. At the pawn shop, the boss and his employee were busy sorting through a new batch of items. They examined each piece carefully, discussing its potential value and whether it was worth keeping or selling. The atmosphere was filled with the sounds of clinking metal and the faint hum of conversation as customers browsed the shelves, searching for hidden treasures. His employees are chatting when the door slams open, and Heejun steps inside. The annoyed boss turns and storms out, while Heejun lands a punch and continues to follow up. He swings as the employee in the black suit looks on, shocked yet secretly rooting for Heejun to succeed, eager to see his bully of a boss finally get what's coming to him. Still, the guy grabs the phone and makes a call, for two huge guys rush in from the next room. There was room to block Heejun and to take him down. Heejun stares them down, unafraid. He's usually calm, yet revealing his dangerous side, tied to the demon he despises, begins to emerge, and he doesn't even realize it yet. However, his blood flows through his veins. The door they had kept locked to minimize the noise. The door now hangs open after one of the big guys was thrown through it, and Heejun drops down. The entire crew emerged with barely a scratch. Heejun questioned why they were extorting money from his sister, who had never done anything to deserve it. He borrowed an item, but the guy in the purple hoodie tried to warn him about it. Messed with them again, but Heejun remains unfazed. He assures them that he will return and make them pay if they ever come near Daljun again, he says before walking out. Their boss shares the same sentiment, vowing to make Heejun regret his actions. Kang and Mu are walking, with Mu still riding high off the excitement. During the Yanzhou fight, Kang simply stares in disbelief and finally asks how it happened. Mu made his arm puff up like that. He grins, and he shifts his muscles from one arm to the other. Kang observes the entire situation, attempts to replicate it, and, as expected, fails. Mu informs he hasn't yet learned to communicate with his muscles, as each one is different. He needs to listen to them individually. Breaking it down further, If you identify each muscle and get them working together, and you can achieve great results. Let them do what they want, and you can control them however you wish. Kang appears increasingly lost, but continues to make an effort. Finally, Yang Yang speaks up, asking why Mu. Mu shrugs and says that if Kang gets stronger, it will make things more interesting. He finds things more interesting when he faces tougher opponents, as it helps him level up and improve more quickly. Additionally, Mu must become strong enough to stand a chance against Lucifer. Yang Yang stated that the earth barrier surrounding his territory was solid and impenetrable, unable to be broken by Lucifer. Anyway, there was no rush. Mu, however, is confident that Lucifer would find a way. He wanted to be prepared, declaring that from now on, it would be nothing but training. The scene shifts to the boy in the purple hoodie, who is summoned by the real boss, his uncle. The kid explains. Everything was going well as he explained his system of providing loans, luring people in, and so on. The uncle flashes his golden teeth and tells the boy that his tongue is getting longer before asking him a question. If he is scared, he won't pass on the business one day. Every business experiences ups and downs. Still, the uncle was disappointed that he couldn't even keep a small pawn shop in line. He assigned some guys to watch his back, letting it slide for now as he released his nephew. Meanwhile, on another floor, the 3 pawn shop employees who had been beaten by Hagen, they were stripped and beaten by the big boss's men for failing to meet expectations. One high school student hit the blonde kid and told him he opened his mouth and tossed in a blue pill, not the kind you might expect. The blonde man is dragged away, warned not to spit it out or face the consequences, else he dies. Meanwhile, the big boss confronts his nephew, taking him down in the ass. He takes the elevator to the lower floors. He begins discussing how the business he ran wasn't bad, but the main problem was that the primary targets were broke students. The CEO's uncle steps out as the elevator doors open. They walk out and then stop, revealing an enormous underground space. The arena stretches out before them, filled with hundreds of spectators eagerly awaiting the next match. The kid in the purple hoodie stares, completely stunned, while the CEO uncle Big Money comes from Big Games. A fighter steps into the arena. From the side, the uncle nudges him to watch closely. The man appears unwell, with purple veins visibly running across his neck. The nephew recognizes the blonde woman who had visited his pawn shop just a few hours earlier, the one who had been compelled to swallow that strange blue pill. Both fighters step into the arena, prepared to demonstrate their skills and determination. As the match begins, the blonde rushes in, seizing the other man's arm and pulling him closer. As the swings come in, the opponent braces to block, but the hit breaks through, snapping his defenses. His bones shatter in an instant, and he screams in pain. Before he can react, a sudden force knocks him off his feet. A second punch from the other side crushes his defenses completely. The blonde guy revels in this sudden surge of power. He can't believe that this is truly his strength. Up in the VIP seats, the CEO and his nephew watch the one-sided match unfold. The CEO pulls out the same blue pill he had given to his fighter during the beatdown. He tells his nephew that one of these allows him to pick the winner. The boy gazes at the pill, captivated. Before handing it back, he contemplated how effortlessly he could defeat Mu with that pill. Meanwhile, at the gym, Mu was pushing through his workout routine and finished with squats. He carefully racked the weights, ensuring everything was in place before moving on to the next exercise. As he stepped back from the bar, his entire demeanor shifted. His body appeared significantly larger, with veins prominently visible. It looks like he's been bodybuilding for years. Man, I feel amazing after that set. My energy is through the roof, and I'm ready to take on whatever comes next. My whole body's tingling, he tells his teacher. The teacher stares in shock before finally saying he's encountered plenty of gym rats before, but no one has ever bulked up this fast. He begins to wonder if Mu is using something. Mu admits that he feels weak, but the teacher interrupts him, discussing the dangers associated with that mindset. He only stops when Mu insists, "I said I am weak." Mu is far too weak to confront Lucifer. If he wants to fight him, he is nowhere near ready. Now looking quite buff, Mu wanders around with Yang Yang tagging along, both dressed in Kim's designs. The phone is secured to his belt and buzzes, causing Yang Yang to jump. He quickly remembers to stay calm, recalling what Kim taught him. He presses the phone to Mu's ear and relays the message. Kim starts yelling, demanding to know where he is and why he hasn't allowed Yang Yang to show his face since last week. Mu offers no explanation. He simply states that he came to see how his training has paid off. In the same alley where that little girl once defeated Mu. The 2 girls are back, feeling great after earning money with 8 participants. Streamed donations come in, unaware that Mu has already discovered them. Mu calls them out. They turn at the same time, and Mu grins, saying, "Long time no see." Jungo jumps up and tells him that, apparently, she didn't hit. He strikes him with enough force and then rushes in. He stands still, allowing her to approach, just like last time. She leaps and drives her knee into his chest, believing she has him. However, as she lands, Mu simply takes a step back, raising his hands. With his hands still in his pockets, Yang Yang asks if he's okay. Mew flashes his usual grin. He's doing just fine. Mew isn't making the same mistake as before. He's already braced himself and he tightened up to protect that spot before he had the necessary muscle mass, but now he doesn't. Fortunately, the knee didn't sustain any real damage. After taking the first hit, he decides to go all in, charging forward. Yang Yang sat on his head, and using his newfound strength, she closes the gap quickly and begins throwing punches at her. Mew sees in this shift he has become the bigger contender, a stark contrast to when he fought Yanzhou. He doesn't give her a moment to breathe. Swinging a heavy kick lands into her side and she feels the impact. His grin widens, but she grabs his foot midair, clearly angry at both the hit and at him for treating her as if she's weak, simply because she's smaller. She drives her elbow directly into his knee, targeting the spot that will cause pain. Most importantly, he still doesn't go down though. It's clear that he has changed since their last encounter. In her final fight, she stops holding back. She rushes forward and drives her elbow into his jaw, followed by an upward elbow to another opponent. She then spins around and slams a third elbow into his side, pushing everything forward. She executes everything flawlessly, but Mu remains on his feet. Her confidence wavers at the sight of that unsettling smile. He seizes the opportunity, grabbing her by the arm and collar, just as Yanzhou had done to him before. Day slams her to the ground. He dives in to smash her face, but she slips away at the last moment. Mew then shifts most of his strength from his upper body, including his neck. He crouches down into his legs and hips, then charges forward, looking goofy as ever. But that wasn't all. Just before he reached her, Mu flipped it. He shifted. He generated power from his legs to his upper body and body slammed her hard. She flew back and only stopped when she reached her destination. She crashed into the tall girl who was blocking her. Concerned for her friend who is ranked, she feels a sense of urgency to offer support. Higher than Yanzhou, the tall girl leaps into the air. She charges at Mew and begins firing. Her long kicks are just like last time. Mew blocks them and makes a decision to break through. He launches forward, swinging directly at her face, revealing everything and holding nothing back. Then the small girl makes her move. At the last second, he gets nailed by an elbow to the face, almost creating a new hole in his cheek. The girls then launch a coordinated attack from both sides, teaming up to deliver a flurry of kicks and punches. He pushed Mu back as he tried to hold his ground, remaining steadfast despite the pressure. He could sense that his training was paying off. Just a few days ago, he wouldn't have lasted against both opponents, but to truly transform, he needed something new. He glanced at Yang Yang and agreed to go along with the plan. He had discovered a way to expand his range. Grabbing Yang Yang by the tail, she spun him around and charged forward, shouting, Now it's 2 on 2. The girls are ready to compete, caught off guard by his bold move. Mew rushes in alongside Yang Yang, wielding his weapon to strike. Both girls are with the lizard. He prepares to swing again, but a short girl steps in and knocks on the door. Yang Yang slipped from his grasp as they exchanged kicks and punches. Meanwhile, Mu retaliated, grabbing Yang Yang once more. They both doubled down on their commitment, the tension in the air palpable. The short girl realized that wielding a weapon grants significant power. Vulnerable, she closes the gap, and the arm holding her is steady. With a powerful uppercut, she catches him off guard. Yang Yang is launched from Mu's grip and lands hard on the ground. The tall girl follows up with a fierce dragon kick. Meanwhile, Mu braces his neck, preparing for the impact. Her uppercut didn't have much effect, and Mu delivers a headbutt to the short girl. The short girl drops, lights out in an instant. Yang Yang continues to cling to the tall girl, but she rips him off, tosses him aside, and drills down. With a heavy kick to Mu's side, it seemed for a moment that she had landed a solid hit. However, it ultimately had no effect. He tightened his core to catch her foot and drove his elbow into her knee, just like the petite girl had done. Earlier, she screamed and delivered another kick with her other leg. Mu caught that one too and spun her around. Even though he prefers strikes over locks, he decided to try one for old time's sake. Seik twists both of her wrists while her legs are hooked behind his neck. She struggles to find her balance, determined to defend herself. Mew pulls the ancient Egyptian joint, and she yells that her legs are locked and about to snap. She feels like she might give up. She yells for him to stop, but he continues. Mu surrenders and lets go. moves in to mark her, but she twists free, delivers a kick, and Mu jumps back, wondering if she still has some fight left in her. While she's digging into the short girl's belongings, he rushes to his pocket, but he throws all his cash in her face like a smoke bomb, and they both vanish, leaving him alone and frustrated that he couldn't make his mark. He picks up her hat and gently places it back on her head, a warm smile spreading across his face as he does so. He resolves to make his mark next time. The tall girl effortlessly carries her heavy backpack as she navigates through the crowded hallway. Suddenly, she is knocked out and taken away, leaving her completely unconscious despite the attempts to urge her to regain her senses. Meanwhile, we cut to Yanjo, who is seething with anger. The Bully Hunters initiative aimed to combat online harassment in gaming, but it faced significant backlash. Critics argued that the program often misrepresented the realities of harassment and failed to address the root causes. Many felt that the approach was more performative than effective, leading to a divide within the gaming community. As discussions around online behavior continued, the Bully Hunters' efforts highlighted the complexities of tackling toxicity in gaming spaces. His plans, he swears, will come to fruition. He kicks a rock in frustration, expressing his desire to eliminate them. The rock comes to a halt at someone's feet. Yanjo squints and inquires if the man is some kind of bird. The man introduces himself as Quack. Du Jun from Chuku High and his teammates faced a challenging match, showcasing their skills and determination on the court. With every play, they demonstrated teamwork and strategy, all in pursuit of victory against their rivals. The atmosphere was electric as fans cheered, creating an unforgettable experience for everyone involved. Amid the excitement, someone asks who has been beating Yanjo, prompting an irritated response from Yanjo. Quack then quips, "My mouth. It still works and can withstand a few more hits." Yanjo isn't impressed, especially since Quack was defeated by the short girl earlier. She grabs his shirt and Quack hesitates, then cracks a blue pill and laughs, which Yanjo is set off, and Quack's veins bulge as if they might burst. The guy from the ring and Yanjo swing into action, threatening to knock out every last tooth. A moment later, Yanjo is defeated and slumped against a wall, battered and bruised. The next day, the girls are walking outside, grumbling about having to hand over their phones. Mu loses all their money and the hat. Quack shows up. The short girl asks what he wants, and he pops another blue pill. Changes cause his veins to pop out, and even his eyes begin to glow as he speaks with a grin that signaled their luck had run out. In Quack's chest, something begins to glow, filling the air with a warm light. His body possessed a mysterious strength, and his personality began to shift. He became more violent and started to express his aggression. After dealing with Yanjo, he would defeat anyone who stood in his way, and Ghidorah would be finished. He would be the last top dog standing. With that resolve, he charged forward, moving straight ahead. The short girl slips, aside at the last second, but he sticks close to her. The tall girl delivers a kick to his face. The short girl adds an unexpected twist to the story. Both of them feel a sharp pain in their elbows. A jolt of pain as if they had struck something solid. Metal, pure steel. Quack doesn't even flinch. He grabs the tall girl's attention. He kicks it with his leg, which causes her bones crack, and she collapses. Screaming, the short girl ran through the crowd, swinging wildly as Quack barely managed to dodge her attacks. He moved in and grabbed her, and she looked up, staring at him in shock. He wondered what he had done to his body as he slammed her into the ground, knocking her down hard. He looks down at them and laughs, declaring, "This is your Ghidorah? So lame. I leveled up." Then, wanting to die, he simply walks away. Pleased he finally nailed it, the line he had practiced long ago. He was weaker than they were. He reports to his boss and says the pill is incredible, and at this rate, he doesn't believe anyone. The boss asks if anyone can beat him. Quack if he plans to keep his promise. Quack replies with a nod of agreement. "Bring anyone you like." Then he asks why the boss doesn't seem to care. "Just take the pill himself," and the boss falls silent. A few days earlier, the CEO's uncle explains the pills. The stronger the boost, the worse the side effects on your personality. It can become violent, and if overused, some people can literally explode. Back in the present, the boss provides an excuse about taking herbal medicine, prompting Quack to ask for clarification. The boss insists that it matters, and they walk away together. Meanwhile, Mool arrives at a location with massive calves, trying to determine the whereabouts of the two girls' school. He expresses a desire to revisit their last fight. The next day at their high school, Mu talks with Kim and mentions that the girls are from Whistle High. She sketches him a map and, in exchange, she gets to keep Yang Yang for a while, which thrills her. When Mu asks her to draw another card, she replies, "What are you, a boomer?" He tells him to use his phone. Mu heads out with Yang Yang, who takes on an active role as the GPS announces the directions. They arrive at their destination, and Mu looks around, spotting the tall girl, who notices him as well. He notices the hat he brought with him as she takes him to the school infirmary, and then they head to the other girl's room. It's strange to see them inviting him in like this, especially after they tried to kill each other just 24 hours ago. The girl explains that the little one was attacked by a psycho who jumped them. She reported him to the police, and he hasn't returned to school. His name is Kwak Do-jun. A groan escapes from behind the curtain as Mu yanks it aside, revealing Yang Jo, battered worse than ever. The last time Mu saw him, he curses at Kwak Do-jun. Then she passes out, and a nurse shouts for help. The patient is going into shock. Yang Jo wakes up and still doesn't like Mu, but he knows he has to find a way to work with him. He talks, revealing that Kwak took some strange drug. He became incredibly strong, despite being the weakest of the gods. Now, he is the toughest opponent Yang Jo has ever faced. Mu listens, filled with excitement as his nose twitches, indicating that someone could potentially defeat Yang Jo so decisively. He inquires about this opponent's whereabouts. The girl says nobody knows, not even her. So Mu decides to track him down himself. Back at school, Mu is carrying boxes while the other students help set up for the upcoming event. The Hulk's teacher emphasizes the importance of making exercise a daily habit, and he means it seriously. Mu's mind was not just focused on trying to boss him around. Elsewhere, someone is thinking about Kwak. Meanwhile, Kwak walks by in the background. He is on the phone with someone. He advised him to be cautious and to stop making announcements. To the world, he appears to be on drugs. Kwak says, "It's already too late." She goes upstairs and heads to a classroom. He has been searching for Heejin, is just relaxing in class. Kwak recognizes him from the picture he has. His boss gave him a pop. Pill storms in and tells, "You're dying today." Then, he lifts a desk with the student remains in the chair and suddenly hurls. Heejin slips and falls, causing the desk to suddenly fly out the window. No one knows who he is, and the students start saying they're going to call his teacher. As Kwak appeared, he rushed forward and threw a punch with his left hand, slamming his opponent into the lockers. The next swing buried Kwak's fist into the metal, and if it had landed, it would have been devastating. Heejin describes it as ugly. Self-defense is a fundamental right that allows individuals to protect themselves from harm. It involves using reasonable force to prevent an imminent threat. In various contexts, self-defense can be understood through different frameworks, including legal, physical, and psychological aspects. Each of these frameworks emphasizes the importance of assessing the situation and responding appropriately to ensure personal safety. He drills Kwak in the he digs in and throws more punches. Kwak freezes and appears to be in shock. The punches have a real impact. He laughs, saying the punches tickle him. Heejin delivers an uppercut and shouts. He calls him a psycho. Kwak absorbs the blow with his chin and remarks that it stung a bit. He grabs Heejin, tightening his grip and crushing his hand. Heejin writhes in pain, struggling to break free as the class watches. Kang and his friends exchange glances, feeling the weight of the moment. The tension in the room is palpable as they try to navigate the discomfort together. Daljun is there too. She realizes her brother is the one fighting and, in a moment of desperation, throws her slippers at Kwak, as if that will make a difference. Kwak turns to her, and she demands that he let Heejin go. He replies that he can't, then swings at her. Kang steps in and counters the move, asking what on earth Heejin thinks he's doing, while Heejin tries to elbow Kwak's forearm in an attempt to break free. "Let go!" Heejin snaps, declaring that Kwak has crossed a line by laying his hands on his sister. In response, Kang rushes at Kwak from both sides. The Hulk, as a teacher, brings a unique and powerful presence to the classroom. He receives word of a fight in the third-year classroom, where students quickly settle in and begin their day. The sprints are over, and Mu's attention is captured. There's no doubt about it. He's missing a fight. Tossing the packaging aside, they head out. Suddenly, Yang walks in, noting that he can feel his magic radar pinging. Back in the classroom, Kang and his classmates were engaged in a lively discussion about the day's lesson. The atmosphere was filled with curiosity as they shared their thoughts and insights, eager to learn from one another. Heejin and Kwak team up for a tag team match. Kwak takes his turn in the ring. Kang is focused on finishing first. However, Kang dodges every attack. Kwak swings with all his strength, but Kang easily dodges, which frustrates him. In response, Kwak tries to grab Kang, but Heejin clips him from behind with a kick to the inside of his leg. Kwak drops to the ground, while Kang looks back and jabs 2 fingers forcefully into his eyes, urging him to be careful. No matter how strong you are, there's always a limit to your strength. Always a weak spot, Heejin says, and they continue to hit him, and Kwak finally gets fed up. He realizes he's losing and pulls away. He spots someone and sprints toward them. The students believe he is coming for them as he approaches the door. He stops at his dealer's place and demands another pill. The bald man questions why he is being exposed in front of everyone. Desperate, he keeps begging for just one more chance, insisting that he'll catch Hee-jun this time. The dealer responds by saying to just give him the pill, and he will take care of the rest. He insists, and the bald man becomes furious that Quack has just exposed him. Without any restraint, Hee-jun recognizes him as the same creep who tried to scam his sister. Noticing Hee-jun's intense glare, the bald man charges forward, placing the pill into Quack's mouth while warning him not to mess this up. Quack replies, "No problem." Hee-jun then steps in, saying, "Don't ignore my warning. Keep bothering me. I can't promise what will happen. I already mentioned it at the pawn shop." Before he can finish his sentence, he's blasted backwards, shocking Kang. Hee-jun crashes against the wall and struggles to regain his balance. Then Kang gets launched as well. The mutant powers up into a formidable force, ready to unleash their abilities. Daljin is concerned about the full purple monster. Brother, she tries to reach out to him. He and Quack reach for her, but the muscular teacher, Ronnie Coleman, grabs his hand, says that working out doesn't mean he can hit his friends, and more. It's time to learn a valuable lesson. The teacher attempts to assert his authority through physical means, but Quack just squeezes back and snaps the rubber band. The teacher's fingers were pointed as the guy ran out, yelling. Mu walks in for the police. Yang Yang tells Mu that it's the perfect time to start their new project, emphasizing the excitement and potential for success. A mutant who has the ability to sense mana. Pouring sweat drips off him as the bald man spots his friend Yang Yang and waves enthusiastically. Collateral lunges forward to grab him but accidentally steps on Daljun's slipper and slips, losing his balance. He stumbles forward, desperately trying to regain his footing while reaching out for support. The face plants he endures are honestly well-deserved. Mu seizes his shiny head and drops it. An elbow on him. That isn't enough, though, and the bald guy, shouting in frustration, Quack urges Mu to come along. Down goes Quack as he says, "Got it," and swings. Mu patiently waits for the first hit to officially begin. Starting it may not be the best idea, but just before it lands, Quack's boost runs out, and Yang Yang has already exhausted his mana into a small orb. As the fight begins, Mu quickly gains the upper hand, leaving Quack down while Yang Yang observes. He notes that the mana feels powerful and vibrant, pulsing with energy all around him. Familiar. Quack is laid out, and Mu expresses his frustration, saying he was far too tired. It felt too weak. It didn't resemble a real fight. He then instructs Yang Yang to return the mana, and Yang Yang complies with his master's request, but warns that this isn't normal mana. Mu asks for clarification on what it is. Yang Yang describes it as extremely pure and powerful, so rare that it only exists when a god gives it directly. There's no mana on Earth otherwise. Mu figures it's been ages since his last mana, so another god must be interfering with Earth. Mu asks if it belongs to him. Yang Yang blushes as the big purple Hulk rises to his feet and glares fiercely, ready to teach them a lesson or two. About 1,000 years ago in the Divine Realm, Mu battled a Cyclops. The giant Cyclops was clearly annoyed with Mu for trying to provoke a confrontation. He hurled his weapon, shattering the ground. However, the ground suddenly cracked apart, and Mu emerged from beneath it unharmed. With a single punch, Mu disintegrated the Cyclops, and he drew his weapon instantly, resembling One Punch Man in his swift action. The Cyclops, returning to his original form, told Mu to stop bothering him. What if the Cyclops had entertained him and then left? Unsatisfied, Mu declared she would be back next time. Yang Yang tried to cheer him up and came up with a brilliant idea. He decided to put his plan into action, believing it would change everything for the better. Brought a massive stone from Earth, ground it to powder with his hands. Crushing magic, it spat a strange liquid on it, mixed with compressed it further, then condensed it with magic to complete it. Lastly, the most important aspect is that he signed it and made his mark on a magic dough. He explained to Mu to give opponents a small dose before fights, which made the encounters intense. Focused, even presented the single serving. Then Mu took the whole thing. Of course he did, and he ran back to the Cyclops. Yang Yang watched, worried, not even sure what to expect next. A moment later, Mu was knocked down. Back and grinning, Mu loved the challenge. The Cyclops was significantly stronger, and they went all out across the board. In God's domain, Mu emerged victorious once again. The Cyclops fell toward the ground, crashing down with a thunderous roar, while Do and the magic stone shot forward toward the deity, but it couldn't pass, as only its deity can interfere and then bounce off. Yang Yang's nose dropped to earth. That's how the magic unfolds. Dao ended up here. Back in the classroom, Mu tells Yang Yang, "Excellent work." Blushing, the giant then bulks up his left arm and unleashes a powerful blast. Mu slips away, avoiding the punch and disappearing into the shadows. The mutant acknowledges that the opponent is tough, but even his own fists are aching. He continues to swing, then slams both fists down in frustration, causing the entire school to shake. It feels like an earthquake. Students stumble as the building looms ahead, its towering structure casting a long shadow over the courtyard. Mu trembles, unable to keep his balance. Suddenly, a mutant grabs him by the shoulder and slams him into the door, tearing his clothes in the process. Yang Yang calls out for him, and he asks if he's okay. Mu inquires about how much time the team has left to complete their project. With the mutant gone, Yang Yang takes a moment to assess the surroundings. The remaining mana is 5 minutes based on the time left. Mana, just 5. Mu speaks, and Yang Yang tells him to hold on. He'll weaken, but Mu is concerned about something else, which means only 5 minutes remain, and then there will be no more opportunity to confront him. With that in mind, Mu confidently states that he'll finish it in 5 minutes. Cut to the iced-out uncle in his basement, surrounded by an array of vintage memorabilia in a collection of rare records. The magic stone created by Du Yang Yang is now in his hands as he breaks off a chunk with a hammer, saying, "This much is enough for now." Mu tears off his shirt and prepares for action, fully aware that the plan involves trading blows head onto his body. He knows that if the monster stays in one spot, he can win, but if not, his chances will be shattered. Over the years, his muscles grew stronger and so large that they obstructed the view. He discovered a method to maintain his strength while allowing for movement. This process made his muscles denser, while also reducing their overall volume. In his divine form, he possessed the power to compress them 150,000 times. At this moment, he compresses once, enabling him to power up one area without losing speed. Bulking up in an unproductive way, Yang Yang shouts that a punch is coming. Mu barely slips through and shrinks down, using one arm to strengthen his right. He compresses again, and it happens a second time. Then, the monster appears. He grabs him and throws him. Mu crashes into the wall, but stops just short of it. He pushes off and continues forward, compressing his right arm for the 3rd time. The monster charges forward, and they trade blows, their fists connecting with determination. Fists collide with a resounding impact, and the shock is so immense that it even blows out the windows. The monster pulls back, its hand throbbing, clearly stunned. That Mu is on par with him. They go again, hammering each point home with relentless determination. Mu begins to gain the upper hand. The same force on a smaller point strikes with greater force. That's exactly what he's doing. Mu points out the monsters, saying they are on par. However, Mu disagrees. He's the one winning. With the 5-minute window is approaching. In the end, Mu drives a shot into the monster's core, blasting it through the wall. The object crashes outside, right in front of the building, where the police and the bodybuilder teacher who called them watch as it lands. At their feet, the monster shrinks back as people shout for an ambulance. Inside, Mu gazes at the hole. He made his way to the bald area. A guy is making another attempt to grab Yang Yang. The bald man can't believe it. Mu defeats the opponent, yanks Yang Yang, and declares that was the weakest fighter. He'll bring a stronger one to take Mu's head. Yang Yang drops down like a shadow, poised to strike. He feels confident, stating that if he had mana, that clown would be finished. He turns to Mu, who then falls to his knees, looking exhausted. In reality, Mu is excited now that he has heard the news. He tells Yang Yang to be stronger and to spit out the healing orb they had saved, as he eagerly anticipates the next battle. Meanwhile, the uncle grinds the magic stone into a fine powder. And presses more pills. His bald head reflects the dim light, a symbol of his struggles. The nephew bursts in, pleading for more. The uncle, he wonders how he has already burned through them. The guy explains that each monster needs at least 3, including the one from earlier. I only got 2 and still lost. The uncle is stunned. He can't believe what he just witnessed, or what his nephew has said. Suddenly, the room begins to shake. They hear bodies dropping in the hall, followed by an eerie silence. Anticipating what's to come, they brace themselves. The door creaks open, revealing Mu. Standing there, he searched for his next opponent. The uncle asked how he managed to get inside with troops stationed outside. Mu replied that he took them out, and then asked,